right way to get that out there. I've been inundated with ideas on different things that we could do from City Council right now, and we're looking at different avenues to try to figure out what we can do. Looking at potentially, down the road trying to get some stuff out there that the city can invest in to partner with and put some cameras up around.
The City of Fort Dodge Public Works Department has announced that there has been a water main break that has resulted in low pressure, and as a result, a boiled water advisory has been issued for North 7th Street, north of Loomis Park, near the entrance of the city limits, as well as Miller Drive and 28th Avenue North. As a precautionary measure, people living in only those areas are advised to boil their water before usage. That advisory is in effect until further notice. The Public Works Department says they will make a public announcement when the boiled water advisory has been lifted for those areas. Federal officials have announced that an ear, nose, and throat doctor in Carroll with clinics in 8 other Iowa cities has agreed to pay $1 million to resolve allegations of Medicaid fraud. The doctor says the settlement is not an admission of wrongdoing. Radio Iowa's OK Henderson with more.
According to a news release from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Cedar Rapids, Dr. Tracy Wellendorf was accused of performing sinus surgeries that did not meet Medicaid's medically necessary standards or were incorrectly coded on bills submitted to Medicaid. Officials indicate the doctor's $1 million payment to the government relates to as many as 115 procedures performed from the fall of 2014 through the fall of 2015. Dr. Wellendorf released a written statement saying reasonable people can disagree about the best medical treatment options, and neither he nor the clinic are admitting doing anything wrong. Wellendorf said there were no adverse patient outcomes, and he's happy and relieved to have what he described as an expensive, time-consuming, and distracting matter resolved. A special agent in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says Dr. Wellendorf has agreed to 3 years of intensive quarterly monitoring by an independent review organization. Radio Iowa, I'm OK Henderson.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. For this afternoon, we'll see mostly cloudy skies across the listening area and a high of 50, with a northwest wind around 5 to 10. And then for later on tonight, we'll stay partly cloudy with a low of 35 and wind staying from the southwest at about 5 miles per hour. For Thursday, we'll see some sunshine and a high of 61. And then for Friday, partly sunny skies and a high warming up to 70. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm Nick Carlisle. Right now, it's 42.
Farming. It's genetics. It's what you are, who you are, what you're made of. It's agronomy, local knowledge of your land and having the tools to put the right product in the right place. It's built on service, with trust, grit, and determination. Because what it takes to make the best product is a lot like what it takes to make a farmer. Golden Harvest, rooted in genetics, agronomy, and service. Talk to your local Golden Harvest Seed Advisor or visit goldenharvestseeds.com.
Okay, you know how it feels when you've saved enough for that long-awaited home edition? Now imagine an addition on that addition. Whoa. That's the feeling with Capital One, where a new savings account earns an interest rate 5 times the national average. That's right, 5 times, as represented by 5 times more singers. This is banking reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Rate comparison based on FDIC national rate. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Okay. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. And we are going to tell the truth, make it matter, and we're never going to be boring, and that's for sure. Now, if you want boring, go back to the Democratic Party debate last night. That was a crashing bore. You know, Elizabeth Warren, I don't know how many times that she smacked Joe Biden right in his unmentionables, and he didn't seem to move. Does that come with age or something, that numbness, or what?
Well, maybe she
You're a doctor.
Maybe they had dropped and she was hitting the wrong place.
Oh, they had dropped?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
All right, man. Okay.
Yeah, that's beyond my skill level.
Okay. All right. Dr. Terry Mankey is here. He's a city councilman, so he says.
Yep.
And now tomorrow we have
the forum.
The forum out at out at the
It's
Friendship Haven.
Yep,
in the
Celebration
Celebration Center.
Yep.
And we're going to meet with some lame internet providers that we have now. Let me repeat again. I'm going to be there tomorrow, and here's my question. So get ready for it. I had a representative of a major internet service stop by my house the other day, and he told me where the problem is, as it has been for the last 3 years. And I've had the same problem for 3 years. He said there's just a low level of service here. And a new amplifier costs $50,000. Mediacom doesn't want to spend that much until the amplifier dies, which is the way some people do business, I understand.
Yep.
But it's not the way a good company conducts itself when they're trying to say that we shouldn't start our own broadband company. AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Good afternoon. You're on the air with Dr. Menke.
Hello, Mike and Dr. Menke.
Good
I
afternoon.
like all your shows, Mike, but I really appreciate Dr. Menke because he says what's going on in Fort Dodge. And I have two questions. What are they doing at the old Holiday gas station on 5th Avenue South? Because they dug up everything in the parking lot. They poured sand. Now it's flat cement. So that's pretty cool, right? I'll hang up and listen. Bye.
Hey, take it easy.
Yeah.
And Menke would be nothing without me, by the way.
Yeah, I called when I saw the deconstruction going on over there, and I asked what they were going to do, if there was a building permit, some indication of future plans for that location. And I was told that the owner of the building just simply wanted the canopy gone. So they brought in a contractor and tore the canopy down. That's basically where they stopped. I know the guy that was there, New Star, is now over on Avenue C. He moved his location over there.
Avenue C?
Avenue C, where that Mexican food place was, right at the corner by the church, right, Riverside Church, right there in the corner when you had a deal. Yeah, he moved it over there. So I don't know what's going to go in there. I don't know if the plans are for New Star to come back. I don't know any more than they were taking the awning down, was what I was told. So they have not done anything since they took it down. We had hopes that they were going to redevelop it and make that piece of property look a little better. I'm not sure if the tanks are out of there or not. I can't remember back, but I'm sure they are.
It's been a while ago. I don't know if they ever came out or not.
I think they almost have to.
Well, you remember when they built CS Pharmacy on the corner there? It was an old gas
yeah.
station, or CVS.
Yep.
Man, that was all tore up.
Yeah.
And I've seen them take tanks out. Those are big tanks.
Yeah, well, they found a couple of them on 15th Street when they took that corner when the car lot was taken out on 15th and 47 South. They found a couple tanks there. They also found an oil tank when they destroyed Carpet World downtown. So those little oil tanks are all over the place.
Yeah, they are.
If nobody reports them, nobody loses. I mean, you can't find them unless you dig them up, and then it's a mess.
I actually think there was another tank of some kind on the CVS Pharmacy site, than the gas station tanks. I don't remember what was there before a series of convenience stores.
Well, there was that Sun Market was there for
Sun
a while.
Market. Well,
Sun Market was there,
but those are all
yeah.
like convenience stores.
Yeah,
I don't know if there was an old house there. Some of the old Fort Dodgers tell me there was a little old gas station there years and years ago. That was before you and me, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, the one thing about CVS, of course, when they came into town, they didn't ask the city for any money, which was really nice. They didn't ask for any TIF, didn't ask for any economic development money. They just came in and built it. So
good for them.
Yep. We need more like that.
Gosh. Where did that concept go to?
Yeah.
I almost forgot it exists.
Yeah, one of our faithful critics on the internet calls that corporate welfare. That's what he calls that when we help people out.
Who says that?
One of our critics on Facebook. We have.
You are so into social media.
Yeah, well, it was kind of interesting reading about the, as we'll talk about in a minute, but the Silo Art project, and actually we're supposed to meet with KCCI today, but the reporter got sick, and so they're going to come up on Friday to report, film a little bit about our improvements. And the Silo Art's really taken off, and there was some concern about why do we need a parking lot, why do we need all this stuff down there. But I can tell you, being on the Convention and Visitor Bureau, we talk about the Silo Art quite a bit. I actually gave a talk on Saturday morning to Waitai, which is I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but it's a women's group throughout the community, and they had their statewide convention.
I know.
Yep, they're based out of Manson, was one we dealt with. But I talked to them on Saturday morning, and as I walked in the door, everybody was asking me where the Silo Arts were because they knew they were close. They just hadn't been down to see it, and so that was a big conversation. But The Silo Art is an economic draw for the community. We're getting people from tour groups. We're getting a lot of bloggers. I'm sure you're up on the blogger thing, but we catch a lot of grief over some of these decisions. But again, this project was funded primarily by grants and donations, and so the cost to the city, the cost to the taxpayers was minimal. We had talked about that trailhead down there for years. Silo Art. Actually, we started talking about that in 2015 with the Northwest River District, and putting a trailhead down there was one of our plans, and the art was part of our plan too.
Yeah.
So the actual concept of walkways around it, if you go down there, it's quite muddy down there. It's rutted. This will make it a lot more walkable. We recognize that it's easier to see it from far away, but again, when you're far away, you can't walk around it and see all the faces that are on there. So
all those things are really, really nice. I support them entirely and completely. But
I know you want our streets fixed, right? That's what everybody else wants.
Well, actually, the whole town could use a facelift.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have too many of these dilapidated houses all over the place, and certainly the Warden Plaza continues to sit there.
Yep.
And that's frustrating.
But just a couple of points to your point is that we did approve $750,000 on Monday night for the use of TIF money to acquire and demolish up to, I think there are 17 properties that have been identified for future acquisition and demolition and redevelopment. A lot of them up in this area, up on the northern part of town. We've been working on the 8th Avenue or 8th Street North for the last few months, and we're continuing to buy and purchase that property and bring it into the city's fold, and then we'll knock them down and make them available for future plans. And there are some plans. I mean, Corpus Christi is going to be abandoned very quickly. The church is moving into the single church site.
They're going to tear down Corpus Christi.
Well, the thought is that it's not structurally sound. So they're talking, and I know there's a lot of people that are going to hate to see that. That steeple has been a landmark in the community for decades. I've read Sharon Hickey's little
church
thing.
Doesn't care.
Well, no, they care. I mean, they've got
not that much.
I'm sure
they knocked down St. Joseph's over in Duncombe and sold the pews and the windows back to the people who paid for them. That was real cute.
But anyway, Sharon Hickey this morning in the paper talking the 150th celebration was mentioning the fact when she came into town, I mean, the steeple was kind of the hallmark of the community. When she came in, she saw that steeple. And of course, St. Paul's has a steeple too, which was blown down a year or two ago. And when that was gone, you just, you don't realize what's missing until you lose it. And so losing the churches is going to be, I think, a big blow and take a while to get used to. But again, that property is prime redevelopment property. We've been looking for the last few years at realigning 8th Street and bringing it down through that property and through that area of town, redeveloping with some townhouses or row houses of some type, and then creating a more or less straight path from the north part of town down to 5th Avenue South, which would make it a little easier for our visitors. But it would also clean up a lot of area, a lot of blight in that area. Not your house. Your house is fine. So, but 8th Street and that whole area.
It's not that old. I was the first resident.
I know it. Got a heck of a deal, too. But anyway, from 3rd over to 9th.
I don't know. If I brought some prospective buyers over to that neighborhood. By the way, this is the house next door with the bullet holes. Pay no attention to that.
Yeah, it'll be fine. But I mean, we're working on all that stuff.
You are?
Yep. I mean, people claim that we're wasting time on art and putting things out there, but a lot of these things are donations.
Well, that's because you come in and talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
Trails and art, art and trails, trails and art.
And those are important.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
There are other...
You look like you could get out on a trail and, use them.
And by the way, I would go with you and I would see which one of us died first.
Stay near a major thoroughfare. So
I happen to own a bicycle.
Well, I don't own one.
No, I know
last bicycle I had a motor on it, a big Harley. That's what I was doing.
Big Harley, that's right.
Yeah,
I just walked in with $50 million worth of cash.
And I told that guy my price, and he caved immediately. Because I am the Minky.
Yeah, no. But moving on, the Warden Plaza is an ongoing issue. We had the guys from KDG or Guy.
How about the whole crime and murder thing?
No, wait a second. Let's move on to the Warden Plaza, then we'll talk about crime and all that.
Oh,
Warden Plaza.
We've got the trails and the art out of the way.
And the trails are beautiful. If you get a chance, that Olson Park
will you
trail is
shut
beautiful.
up about the trail?
You see the deer, the wildlife.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, the Warden Plaza is continuing forward. They've got several deadlines that they need to meet by April in order to get state historical tax credits, and those are critical for the success. If they do not succeed getting a substantial portion of their funding from the state historical tax credits, that building will not be done for a few more years.
Oh.
So we're hoping that they get it all done. And Mr. Carnes will be back at the 28th. We're doing another workshop. I don't know if he's coming back to give us more details, to straighten out some of the things that he left lingering last time, or maybe he's got answers for some of the questions. And hopefully he'll be able to provide us with some more financial details as far as his stack, as they call it, to make sure that he's got money to pay for it. And hopefully somewhere in that stack's a little bit of money out of his back pocket. So we would like to see an investment on that. So you want to talk about crime? You know, you had the police chief in here, you had David in here, and they pretty much told you that we are working on that. I mean, it's not that we're sitting around talking about beautification all the time, although that is a portion of our conversations. But, you know, we're all concerned, and I mean, everybody in the community is concerned about the recent uptick in crime with the, you know, 2 murders, the young man that got shot by a family member, you know, your war zone over there in front of your, did your Ring doorbell pick up?
No, but I have more Ring capability
got more Ring,
now.
Yeah, you're ringing there.
Yeah. If somebody starts shooting up 4th Avenue now, they're going to be on camera.
Yeah, but again, I think, you know, the video surveillance, the security cameras is going to be critical in our community. We met yesterday with the Main Street group. We had our monthly meeting, and that's one of the priorities of the downtown area, is to improve and, you know, provide access to security cameras. And I think you're going to find that we're going to be doing something downtown, either through Main Street or in conjunction with the city or maybe another group. So there's a variety of issues.
By doing something, what are you talking about?
Putting cameras up. Yeah. And we'll either put them up so people know that they're there, or we're going to put them up where people don't know they're there. And I don't know if you're going to commit a crime. I guess you don't care one way or the other, because I think, you know, it's not top secret, but I think the last 2 murders we had in town were both solved quickly because of security cameras. The quality of the cameras is improving. And
well, 2 young men killed another man behind Tom Thumb just Friday evening.
Underneath the security camera.
That's right.
Yeah, that was stupid on their part.
I didn't say they were smart, Terry. I'm saying that we have crime in our town.
Yeah, and again, we're talking, I mean, Roger has been working. I mean, he obviously has been overwhelmed in the last few weeks. There's a lot of things happening. And again, just because you don't hear about it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not being spoken about. You know, I've actually been doing some research and talked to Roger and David about the possibility of some type of a security camera rebate program. They do this in other communities to get the cameras out. One condition I would put on that would be that they have to allow police access to the video if they do if have a problem in their neighborhood and there's a chance that it's on a video. You know, if we provide a rebate of some type towards purchasing cameras, external cameras, not internal, you know, then we would be able to, the city would be able to go in and access that video to use, to look to see what happened.
Did you do the research I asked you to do last week?
I don't remember you asking me to do any research.
We'll talk about it off here.
Yeah, you know, you need to write it down, yeah.
I need to write it down. That was all my fault again?
That's what I tell my wife all the time. She said, did you? And I go, no, did you write it down? Nope. Okay, well, then I have an excuse. But anyway, I mean, you know, we're looking at that. I mean, the budget hearings are coming up, and, you know, I spoke to Jeff Nemmers the other day about costs associated with additional police officers. You know, those people, I mean, the initial salaries aren't that bad. We have a lot of interest, and I think there is a civil service list of police officers out there. We graduate a lot from Iowa Central and the, you know, the law enforcement training out there. But the cost of a police officer runs anywhere around $80,000 a year, and that's with benefits and training and equipment and everything. So to look at increase in the police officers, you know, it would be nice to bring in 3 to 6, you know, with the 3 shifts. So you probably want to keep it in a 3 category. If you bring in 3 additional officers, then you'd have to buy another car, and so you're looking at additional costs associated with that. And of course, this is part of our 810 levy, and when you do the 810 levy, we're pretty well capped out. So you have to figure out other ways, creative ways, through grants or you know, shuffling money around somehow. Geo bond or whatever.
Well, I understand that soon all our money problems will be solved because we're going to be a tourist destination.
Well, that's true too. I can talk about that in just a little while.
All right.
But, yeah,
I hate to get in your way.
No, you're
things to impart here.
I mean, I listened to Jay Sanchez last week, and you didn't say more than 3 words, and Matt said less.
That was a remarkable performance. I invite him back every week so I can open up the microphone and take a nap.
He's still in town. Yeah, I'm going out to dinner with him tonight. So. So anyway...
what, you haven't kissed any butt this week? Or
no, he's meeting with all the council people. I think Nevin and Lydia are meeting with him tomorrow, and I think he's met with several others and talked to him about his plans. But anyway, I mean, looking forward, the crime issue, more police officers will help. Security cameras will help, but we still have that lingering problem where people know things and they don't talk about it. So... if you're not a member of Crime Stoppers, I urge you to support Crime Stoppers. They do offer monetary rewards. You don't have to tell them who you are. You just make the call or text, and they will take care of it. And I think if they can increase the rewards, maybe we can get more information.
This is AM 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air with Dr. Menke.
Yeah, I know this isn't the topic you're talking about today. But first of all, I enjoy your program.
Thank
Number two, I'm calling in to see why we don't have any zoning in our city here in Fort Dodge. A person could be living in a home and then repair it and keep it in good condition. Then the next thing you know, some little guy comes and buys a house next to you, and you got bums living next to you. So I'll hang up and wait for the answer, if there is an answer.
Well, Mickey will dance through this one. I know.
Yeah. Well, those are tough questions. I mean, we face that a lot, especially in the northwest part of town. There's a lot of rental properties available that were purchased relatively inexpensively.
This is a problem where some of the most recognizable names in our town are responsible for entire neighborhoods going to hell.
We've got 10,000.
And you guys sit there and talk about it.
You guys. What about Lydia? She's on there too.
Lydia too.
Is she a guy?
Lydia, no. But thanks for the what. Yeah. Thanks for the distraction.
You're welcome.
I have no idea what that was about.
Well, you called us guys. You
guys. Well, no, I'll include Lydia in the guys thing.
Okay, perfect.
Don't be such a sexist.
Yeah, you're the one that brought it up. I'm just defending her. But anyway, we have...
I'm defending her. The knight in shining armor.
Will you let me
Damsel in distress. Here I am for you, Lydia. I will slay this dragon, Mike Devine. Oh, God.
Thanks for asking me in.
All right.
Sit over there and whine. But anyway, the zoning issues, we do have zoning in the community. I mean, obviously, that's we have a whole department that looks at these things. We have 10,000
I can
homes.
tell they've been looked at.
Yeah, well, we have approximately...
You have a bunch of eyeballers over there in the city departments. Okay. I'll tell you. Let's bring the city out and have them look at it.
Maybe this gentleman should call me at the office. Maybe I can answer.
Go ahead, give me the answer.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to tell you. You're comic relief. What are you doing?
You're in here every week telling me that and telling us that that something's been looked at.
I won't be here next week.
Something's been looked at. Why won't you be here?
I have continued education. But anyway, we have 10,000 properties, more or less. That's just a ballpark number because it's an easy number to round off and remember. But we have 10,000 properties in the community. 4,000 of those properties are rental properties. So we have a lot of rental properties, and we do address rental a little bit more aggressively than we can a private ownership. So if you have somebody that bought a house and they have renters in it, that house will go through an inspection and they're held to a little bit higher standard. With 4,000 properties and about 3 inspectors, it's hard to get to everybody. But if you do have an issue, I would suggest or recommend that you call down to the nuisance department, and they will take a look at it and address it. If it's a homeowner, we don't have as much latitude. If they have garbage outside or accumulation of appliances or whatever, that's where that wonderful thing called See-Click-Fix comes into play. And if you do not have that, it's easy to use. You can get it off the city webpage, and you just report the problem, take a picture if you want to, and normally within 24 hours, somebody will go out and look at it. So, we have had some people in town that have opened up so-called lodging homes. Lodging homes is when they basically bring in and subdivide the house and have a lot of people. We had a couple of those. that were talked about up in the north section of town, northwest part of town.
Too.
Yeah, well, there's one in the south part. That's legal, and they've been inspected, and everything is fine with it. But again, a lot of these out-of-town workers don't require a lot of space. All they need is a bed and a place to lay their head down. And if those show up, then there's a little bit more of a concern, because obviously you've got parking issues, you've got people that don't want to be inside all the time, so they're hanging around outside, celebrating life in general, and creating a mess. So if you do have somebody you suspect is running a lodging house without the proper certifications, again, I would recommend calling the nuisance department. If it's just a guy that moves in next door to you and he's a slob, I don't know what to tell you. That's more of a civil complaint unless he does something really stupid. I don't think the city's going to intervene in that. But the rentals we've been very aggressive on, and I encourage you, if there is a problem, let somebody know.
I'm waiting to see the results of your aggressive landlord campaign here, because
I got a feeling that the landlords would say that we've been more aggressive than we need to be. But
really,
yeah, there's been. Again, it's all complaint driven, so we need to know what the problem is before we can address it. The city is not out looking for problems, but again, with see, click, fix and phone calls and conversations, I've had several people talk to me. I'm not going to give you their names, but they talk to me, and then
what is your name, Allstein?
and I go out and
I've had several people. All right, one.
I will go out and inspect the property, do a drive-by. If there's a condition there, I will take pictures, and I will personally go down and take care of the situation. So if there's something I can do to help, I would be more than happy to help you out. But
all right.
I mean, we can't fix everything, but we are much better than we were 5 years ago.
I think you're right.
I hope so. We like to think we are.
I would like to see a return of the forestry department. I've never seen such overgrown trees on every street in this town.
Well, we can explain that away, too, with the emerald ash borer. We've hired more people. We've got more trucks, and they're doing a lot of the emerald ash borer tree removals. Kevin Lund and his crew have done a great job. It makes the town look a little desolate when they start clearing the parkings the way they have, but they're pretty well caught up now. So I would think maybe this winter, if there is a tree complaint, see, click, fix, and they will come out and take care of it.
Just right away, huh?
Well, very quickly.
All right. Terry Mankey's our guest.
Michael Devine.
You're very clever, my charming little friend.
With more stimulating talk radio.
But not clever enough.
I think I am clever enough, actually. It's 2:33 a.m., 1400 KVFD. The voice of Fort Dodge, weather, obituaries, and a closing market report coming up. And, of course, more Minky.
I'm Dr. Jeff Gooden, and I treat pain with Salon Pas. That's because practicing good medicine is my responsibility as a doctor. For back or joint pain, I agree with CDC guidance that recommends using topical pain relievers first, like Salon Pas Patch Large. Salon Pas is powerful, FDA approved to relieve debilitating moderate pain, yet non-addictive and gentle on the body. Look for the green Salon Pas box in the pain relief aisle. Salon Pas. It's good medicine.
As the nation's leader in pork production and pork exports, Iowa's pork producers are doing things right. It's their ethical and moral responsibility. Hog farmers keep their pigs safe and healthy, safeguard natural resources, protect public health, and build strong communities every day. Pork quality, responsible production, and continuous improvement are roles they take very seriously. Iowa's pork producers, producing safe, affordable food. Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
The Webster County pork producers remind you, when it comes to protecting their family's health, Iowa's pig farmers are some of the most concerned people around. Safe, affordable, delicious, and nutritious pork can be served for your dinner tonight. Roasted, grilled, stewed, sautéed, stir-fried, broiled, kebabbed, sauced, dipped, sandwiched in your new recipes and your old recipes. Why not buy some pork today and serve it up tonight? This message brought to you by the Webster County pork producers, striving to serve people, pigs, and the planet. Here's a look at how the markets closed today. December corn down 1.5 at $3.91 3/4. March down 3/4 at $4.03 1/2. May corn down 3/4 at $4.09 3/4. July down 1/2 penny at $4.14 3/4. November soybeans down 6 cents at $9.28. January down 6 1/4 at $9.43 1/4. March down 4 3/4 at $9.54 1/2. And May beans down 3 3/4 at $9.63 1/4. 1.25. December wheat up 6 1/4 at 5.13 1/4. Soybean meal down $3 a ton at 304.80. October live cattle up 135 at 112.35. December up 42 at 113.87. October feeders up 22 at 145.22. November down 15 cents at 145.92. December lean hogs down 150 at 70.62. February down 30 at 78.85. I'm Dwayne Murley.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. It's 2:36, 24 minutes before 3 o'clock. First of all, on the weather, mostly cloudy with a high of 50 today. Mostly cloudy overnight with a low of 34. Excuse me. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 62. Friday, sunny with a high of 70. Look out. Saturday, sunny with a high of 66. Sunday, a chance of rain. Otherwise, sunny with a high of 54 on Monday. On Monday, let's see, what will it be? Oh, yeah, 40% chance of rain, mostly cloudy with a high of 55. And on Tuesday, it'll be sunny with a high of 54. Right now in Fort Dodge, 45 degrees at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Gunderson Funeral Home is in service to Marlene Moore, Cindy Redenius, Dorothy Feevold, Arlene Campbell, and Jane Thorson. Again, Marlene Moore, Cindy Redenius, Dorothy Feevold, Arlene Campbell, and Jane Thorson. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. It's 45 degrees at 2:37 AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Dr. Terry Menke's coming up.
Need a new roof? Have you considered that there's very few roofers to choose from, and come September, everyone at once will decide their roof must be completed before winter? The last thing you want is the winter roof that will never seal properly, or an improperly installed roof done by a contractor you may never see again. Don't wait any longer. Call Hahn Roofing today, and in most cases, they can start your project within 2 weeks and finish within 1 or 2 days. Call Hahn Roofing today for your free estimate. 515-573-7440. That's Hahn Roofing, 515-573-7440.
Have you ever wondered how the brain works? What makes us tick? Join me, Greg Woods, every Wednesday morning for all the latest news on the brain, on aging, and the science behind it all. It's The Mind Boggles, every Wednesday morning at 8:30 on AM 1400 KVFD.
Have the talk of the lifetime with the ones you love and make the difference of a lifetime.
Grandma, this card asks, what's your favorite family tradition?
Christmas would be my favorite. You know how we use the special tablecloth and all the fancy dishes?
And those cookies you always make.
Should we whip up a batch and bake some together now?
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most isn't just important today. It will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
Michael Devine.
You're very clever, my charming little friend.
With more stimulating talk radio.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. We're going to tell the truth, make it matter. And we're never going to be boring. We're going to do that with City Councilman, the Reverend Dr. Terry Menke. Is it time for a talk of a lifetime, as the Gunderson Funeral Home commercials done? We're going to have the talk of a lifetime.
Well, I think everybody should pre-plan.
You're absolutely correct.
Yeah,
You're absolutely correct.
Take the burden off your family because they don't know what you want.
Every time I hear Gunderson talk like that, I'm reminded I got to get out to Gunderson's and
pre-plan.
Pre-plan.
They'll come to you,
right.
actually.
Yeah. Scott Jacobs is a Calhoun County supervisor, and he has endorsed Jeremy Taylor of Sioux City.
I read that in the paper.
Yeah,
that's newsworthy.
Yeah, well, it's newsworthy because Jeremy Taylor is very outspoken about ending Medicare and even cutting back Social Security.
That hurts.
Certainly Medicare.
That hurts.
In Calhoun County, yeah, they have a high percentage of people over the age of 65.
Yep.
Now, Jeremy Taylor and Randy Feenstra kind of equivocate a little bit. Well, we're going to do this over a period of time. Even Ann Meyer is in favor of this. So this is something that's emerging from the Republican Party. I think it's suicide, frankly.
Yeah, they're giving their opponents something to talk about.
Giving their opponents, they're telling me that they're not worth my support. Frankly,
it's tough.
No, tough. Did you say?
Yeah, it's tough.
There's no. I asked Randy Feenstra straight out. Well, he kept saying, as Governor Reynolds always says, well, these programs are unsustainable. These programs are unsustainable. And I said, explain that a little bit. What do you mean they're unsustainable? Well, there's no money. And I said, yeah, there's plenty of money in the state of Iowa. You just have to raise taxes. Oh, I'm not going to do that. So there it is. It's the Republican Party's wealthy donor base that is just likes to cut taxes out of and callousness in a lot
of people on fixed income and Social Security makes up a major component of their retirement planning. I mean, a lot of their retirement.
Well,
planning.
what they're talking about doing is getting people when they're 20 or 21 to invest in something other than Social Security. You think somebody 20, 21 is going to do that? Hell no.
No.
They're going to get to the other end of life and they're going to have nothing.
Right.
And they're going to say, thank you there, Jeremy Taylor, Randy Feenstra, and whatever else you Republican bozos. And I like Randy Feenstra as a person, but I wish he'd get off that and make a pledge to preserve Social Security and Medicare. No. I wish Ann Meyer would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Ann said, well, I thought you were capitalist, Mike. Well, let me tell you something. Capitalism does not work without a moral code. Capitalism is in itself just an economic system. It's just an economic system. It's not in the Constitution. It's not in the damn Bible. It's an economic system. And we have decided as a country that it is the best economic system, but it's not the only economic system. You want to talk about something else, don't you? Because I get a little revved up about this.
You always get revved up.
I know I do.
Yeah. Well, we can talk a little bit about money because we did talk about that.
You know who wants to do this? Some of these guys, some of the wealthy landowners in the state, big farmers, oh, yeah, we ought to cut Medicare and Social Security. Excuse me, but your dad, grandfather, and probably your great-grandfather wouldn't have survived without government help. I mean, massive federal subsidies to your farm kept you going.
Even to this day.
Even to this day. And, well, we want to get these people off these welfare programs. Ha ha! When you go, buddy, we'll do it. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, you're all right. Take a
right.
pill.
Okay, I did.
I'll call a prescription in for you.
All right, thank you.
But anyway, we did talk about. I was a little disappointed, and Matt was almost giddy when we started talking about capital improvement plan on Monday because they have all these graphs and all this money and throwing it around. They've identified through the departments about $14.5 million of capital improvement plans, of just $14 million for next year. We're looking at a couple $1 million for streets, which will be included in that $14 million. Remainder would be for grounds, equipment replacement, and facilities. And my question and concern after sitting through this for 20, 25 minutes is what are we talking about? Because I like projects. I like to see what we're talking about. I think the money itself, that's why we have Jeff and David to look at these things that, they don't ask the city council for any input on these capital projects until they present them to us. And then we choose from a list as far as prioritization. I've got my projects that I think need to be looked at. Some of them have been put on the back burner, and I'm be anxious to see. They're supposedly going to talk to us on the 28th about specifics. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm excited about. So there's a lot of things. Street, last GEO bond, we had $1 million additional in there. The one before that, we actually had $1 million for road repairs, and this last one, we had $1 million in there too, which is the first time we've really included money in the GEO bond for road construction. Road construction basically comes from our lost revenue, which, as you know, our retail base is eroding a little bit because we don't really have the strong retail base that we used to a number of years ago. But we still have fairly good input from that, and all of our infrastructure work we've done, we've been able to do a lot of street repair. But it seems to be the first thing that's cut when we do these GEO bond discussions is road repairs. So hopefully we can keep them in there.
This is AM 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air with Dr. Mickey.
Hi, I'd like to throw out an idea. Hey, Mike, maybe you could kind of take a public poll via your radio show about what percentage split the public would like to see for those capital dollars.
That's a good
My
idea.
guess is 1/7 on streets is going to be awfully low.
Could I know your first name after all these years that you have been calling in?
Candy.
You said that once. Is that your real first name?
No, it's not.
Why are you so anonymous?
Because.
Oh, because. I've heard that before.
Because I can.
Because you can. Thank you, Candy.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Again, when we
Codename Candy.
Codename Candy. Was that with an I or with a Y?
I don't
as well?
know.
Let's use an I.
I prefer the I. Yeah. Sounds
with
a
a
little
K
cooler.
instead of a C.
Yeah, that's very good.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Way to go, Minky. You've been to a lot of porn movies.
No, but anyway.
Candy Cane, starring Candy Cane and Terry Minky.
Yeah, we do have, our strategic planning session will be coming up fairly quickly. Capital improvement, basically, that's driven by department heads. And so we see all these requests come in, and I think they have a lot of projects that they would like to get done that they realize the money isn't there. And so, again, once we get the capital improvement
Why isn't
plan,
the money there, Terry?
Well, it's not there yet because we try to keep our levy, our debt service levy at about $4 a thousand in order to keep the tax rate down. We're kind of stifled with the 810 levy with our general service work. And so our bonding has really been an effective way of getting a lot of these big projects done. So we've been using a lot of SRF money, a lot of state and federal money for some of our road construction work. And again, that's as a result of good work on our planning department up there to access those funds. But there's a lot of things like the bridge, the so-called hab hump, as you call it. That's been on the list.
Well, I don't do it anymore. Mayor Hab years ago. You're way behind the times here.
Nice man.
I was interviewing former Mayor Hab years ago, and referred to it as a hab hump, and he kind of winced. And he told me off mic that he never cared for that. So
that doesn't surprise me.
Because he's such a, well, I don't know. I thought it was kind of a cool name. I wouldn't mind having a hump named after me.
Okay, we'll leave that there. But anyway,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he didn't want a hump named after him. Don't you want the Minky hump down in your neighborhood?
No.
The Humpty Hump?
I'm fine.
All right.
But anyway, that bridge project is going to have to be done. It's a little over $1 million. We've still got a lot of road construction projects that we're looking at. Olson Park, near and dear to our hearts, it continues to move forward. We're looking at hopefully putting a shelter down there this year with some of the funding that's already in place and some of the funding out of the GEO bond. We've got ongoing projects and wish lists, as you call them. But I know the fire department's looking at a new fire truck. I know Public Works is looking at a couple of new dump trucks because theirs are getting a little bit old and beat up. And, I've been talking to some other councilmen about that, people want to see progress, and seeing a new dump truck doesn't really impress a lot of people. So I think we need to get projects done. We need to get streets fixed. We need to get more police officers. The fire station work is continuing. I think they're still going to need to do some roofing work over there, and that's probably going to be in the bond. We're also going to see money for City Hall, moving forward with some of the renovations over there. There's additional parking lots that need to be done. A lot of that can come out of our parking fund, but not all of it. So, there's a lot of things out there. And again, Parks and Rec is a big component of our budget. And I'm sure Lori has got a long list of things that she wants to get done. I know Snell Crawford Park's on the hit list, and Expo Park is on the list. And again, the Olson Park is still underway, and we're still a few $1 million short from finishing that up. So
the governor of the state of Iowa has great legs. It's just terrific.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, that's.
I figured you wanted to know.
No, I've been with her several times.
You've been with her?
Yes, I actually have pictures with her. I was with her not too long ago.
Is this going to be a story?
No.
Do I have to turn off the mics?
No, my wife and I were down at General Gashi's farewell from Kosovo.
Oh, you're in that Kosovo thing.
Yeah, and I had a chance to talk to Governor Reynolds at that time for probably 5-10 minutes. I talked to her at an event here in town not too long ago too. So she's a very nice
certainly
lady.
don't agree with the governor, but she's a very charming person.
No, that's nothing wrong with that.
Yes, thank you. That's right.
Yeah.
There isn't anything wrong with being charming.
Yeah, that's right. That's why she is where she is today. But anyway,
people never describe me as charming.
No, I wonder
I'm
why.
a little hurt.
They call you all kinds of things. But
yes, they do, but not charming.
So Main Street was in. They gave us an update on their projects. There was about $500,000, just under $500,000 in private donations in the last year and a half downtown. 11 buildings were rehabbed. 8 new businesses were included. They added 32 employees, and it's growing downtown. There's a lot of things happening. I was going to lunch today, and from 12th Street down to about 10th Street, there was not an open spot on Central Avenue. So That's good. I mean, it's nice to see traffic. It's nice to see people. It's nice to see, things happening in downtown.
J.J. Sanchez said last week that Fort Dodge has become a place where you go to work.
And that's probably true. Yeah, and we're trying to change that. I'm on that board, and we've talked to J.J. We hired Jay. I shouldn't say not J.J. That's she's.
Are you looking at it?
No.
Are you and your board looking at it?
Absolutely. That's what we're discussing.
That's what you do, isn't it? You look at the board.
We retained and hired Mr. Sanchez to do some work for us. We've expended some funds to bring him into the community.
How much did you spring for?
Well, the initial contract was for $15,000, which covered a web redesign and some additional work that he's been doing. We just talked about a month and a half ago. We increased his amount to do some tourism business in town, and I don't know, I can't really give you any privy. I mean, I think he kind of hinted that we have several destinations in town that are really struggling. There's a lot of
I've heard as much as $70,000.
Yeah, and there's a lot of advertising that needs to be done.
Is this all on the city's ticket?
No, it's CVB. It's all off the hotel motel tax, and that's our portion. At the present time, we have funds available. We have allocated funds in our budget for this type of work. We do continue to try to fill the beds. We want people. We want heads in the beds, as they say. We know that trails and making the city look pretty is just part of the whole thing. But Mr. Sanchez is coming in with a variety of ideas, and you were part of it with Sam Arkoff. The gentleman from Fort Dodge, the potential of a Sam Arkoff film festival has come up.
That's right.
Bring in zombie walk downtown, and then I suggested we have paintball hunts of zombies in some of our city parks, but that was rejected for some reason.
Liability.
Yeah, liability. But he's got a lot of ideas, and he doesn't give you much time to interject. He's got a lot of ideas. He's constantly on the go.
Sanchez?
Yeah, he's excited about the community, and I think Mayor Matt has bought into that, and Kerry Kuiper has bought into that. And I think the CVB has some people that are concerned because it's kind of changed our direction a little bit. Because in the past we've done a lot of business meeting recruitment. We still do. I mean, Carrie and Connie over there do a great job. They're busy all the time, and she's probably the hardest working person.
Oh, Connie
Freyer.
Thank you.
Freyer. Yeah.
Yeah,
she's been.
I have known who she is for many years.
She used to
very nice,
be a successful business person in town. Yeah, and she retired and got bored, so she came back to work.
There's an idea.
Yep, and we've had an intern. Emily Johnson's been there the last couple of summers, but there's a lot of things happening, a lot of change, and so the direction of the CVB is changing a little bit. And anytime there's change, there's a little bit of pushback, and I think Kerry has handled that well. We've had a lot of discussions, a lot of meetings, a lot of early morning meetings, and I think we're a large board. We have a lot of people on there. We represent hospitality. We represent.
So you really
hotel.
don't get anything done at all.
Oh no, we have very good meetings. They're very productive. And again, we do a lot of advertising, a lot of promotion work. We do a lot of recruitment, a lot of sports shows. Hand out a lot of stuff promoting Fort Dodge and the surrounding community. But we're really lacking, I think, the real tourism. I mean, what do we have in Fort Dodge that people would come here to stay 2 or 3 days?
Well, Terry, because we're in the middle of a cornfield.
No, but we have a lot of things. I mean, when Fireball Run came here, could you have come up with 15 locations for people to come and do stuff?
Not that I would have wanted to go see necessarily.
Well, but that's just it. They were able to create that. And
yes, yeah.
And like I said, he's got a lot of ideas. I mean, we've got some assets in the community.
Fireball Run was in Dubuque at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty familiar with Dubuque.
A day
it's a great
or two
town.
Before, yeah. And they have a big river there too.
Yeah, they have a river there.
Yeah, a big river.
Big.
Yeah, I think there's been songs and stories written about it.
Yeah,
not too many about the Des Moines River.
Waist deep in the Big Muddy.
Yeah. But I mean, tourism is it's an idea, an opportunity to bring people into the community, and when they come here, they're going to drop some money, and when they drop money, it's going to benefit all of us. I mean, it's going to benefit.
I just can't imagine somebody from Des Moines saying, "Let's go to Fort Dodge for 3 days."
Yeah,
4 days.
They come up here for tournaments.
And we'll see the sights.
They'll be up here for the cross country tournament. They'll be up here for the softball tournaments. There's bowling that's going on.
We've
all the
always
time.
had them here and we're lucky to have able to keep the girls' state softball tournament here.
Yeah, and it sounds encouraging. I think they're.
But that's not a new development, Terry.
No, I know it, but I mean
the
that's
bowling tournaments aren't either.
Yeah, but we want to capitalize on that, and that's why we had to bring in somebody with a little bit of experience. And Mr. Sanchez has worked with a lot of different companies, a lot of promotion, a lot of advertising. Worked in the Orlando area, which that's people just show up there and start throwing $100 bills around.
Well, they have something. They have an attraction there in Orlando.
Yeah, and we
big
have,
mouse, right?
Yeah, a big mouse. Yeah, or big.
We don't have a mouse
rodent.
here.
It's a rodent, according to some people in Florida.
But it brings the money, honey.
Yeah, Carl Hyson wrote a great book about that. It's I can't remember the exact title, but he basically insinuates that there are more problems than what they're worth. That the downfall of a lot of communities in Florida is a result of having Mickey Mouse there. So it's a great book. Carl Hyson's a great guy. Bill Bryson's a great guy too. He's from Des Moines.
Bill Bryson?
Bryson.
Yeah,
he wrote Walk in the Woods. Yeah, Walk in the Woods. He wrote that.
Okay.
But anyway, I think Mr. Sanchez has a lot of ideas. I'll be more informed after I meet with him tonight. I've seen some preliminary sketches for some redos and some opportunities that he sees in the community. We're starting out slow because we are a small community, and this is a new way to look at things. And I think, some of his ideas are pretty far out there. I mean, some of them are probably not realistic. But the ones he's working on the most, I think, is entirely possible with the right amount of time, effort, and money. We should be able to have a successful tourism program. So,
well, money's not a problem, is it? You've got plenty of it.
No, but I'm talking about the ongoing capital. I mean, we rely a lot on volunteers in this community, and volunteers are not what you call a real reliable source of work. And, I mean, if you have a passion, you're going to stay involved. But a lot of times these things... volunteer boards, are difficult because they don't have the ownership, and it's you really have to have the passion and the desire to see it succeed. And I think the projects that he's working on, there's a lot of enthusiasm, and I think there's potential. But again, is it going to happen overnight? Probably not. But his time frame initially was to get a lot of this done by Christmas. He was pretty gung ho. And we kind of throttled him back a little bit. There's some discussions, but
he didn't want to be here in the winter. He's from New Mexico, for God's sake.
No, but I mean, he's been here a couple of weeks. I've been doing photography throughout the community, updating our web design. We're going to get a new web page. We're getting new stationery. We're getting a new slogan. There's a lot of new things that he's come up with, and he's got a lot of friends in industry, a lot of friends in business that are willing to come over here and help us. And I think his enthusiasm is being transferred into other areas, and we can only hope, because we really need outside money to come in. I mean, it would be nice to have Fort Dodge become a destination for weekend tour groups and weekend vacation spots.
So you're totally sold on this whole thing?
I'm not totally sold, no. But I would
You're
say
not totally sold, because you sound totally sold.
No, I have my
AM
concerns.
1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air with Dr. Menke.
Yes, I was wondering, talking about businesses and relocations downtown, the Warden Plaza is a beautiful old building that's been sitting abandoned and empty for I don't know how long. And that covers a lot of territory down around Central and down around the courthouse, or down by the city municipal building. Is anybody doing anything for renovating that, or what are the plans for that building? And the same way with McGregor's. That's a large old furniture store. What's going to be done with that building?
Well,
Because some empties that need to be filled up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I'm glad that you called and brought up McGregor's, because it makes me think of parking meters. Now,
that we didn't really need to put downtown.
We really didn't need those either. No, it's just ways to get money, and it kind of a... Anyway,
I know. That's why they rent them off downtown. They want them to come downtown, and then they make it where they don't want to come downtown. It's stupid.
Thank you, ma'am.
I can tell you there has been
So I went to the candidate forum the other night at Iowa Central, and apparently none of the candidates are in favor of parking meters.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about this on and off for years. I mean, it's not going to be solved overnight, but I think...
What do you mean it can't be solved overnight? You take them out, period, end of story.
Yeah, but there's some issues with the funding for that. But anyway, I want to talk...
The funding for that? You mean the parking? Mean the parking lot thing?
The fund, yeah. But McGregor's, there was an offer made on the McGregor's building here recently. There was a local group that was interested in redeveloping that site. They couldn't quite come together on price, and I know this is the second offer that I know, so people are looking at it. Chris Patrick has it on her radar. She's very familiar with all these empty spaces downtown, and there's interest in them. I mean, the Trolley Center is also another prime location that could be redeveloped into a,
that was such a great idea. All right, Dr. Terry Menke has been our guest. Thank you, Terry.
No problem.
3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're listening to KVFD Radio in Fort Dodge, Iowa.
Something rare at the White House. Lisa Brady, Fox News. A bipartisan group of congressional leaders sitting down with the president. The main focus today, Syria.
The last time they had one of these meetings at the White House, it was in May. It was with top Democratic leaders over infrastructure, and it lasted about 5 minutes. That's when the president, browbeat the Democratic leaders and stormed out of the room. So this is the first time that they've had a session like that, and Republicans are just beside themselves how the president has handled this.
Fox's Chad Pergram on Capitol Hill, where the House a short time ago overwhelmingly passed a resolution opposing the decision to end certain U.S. efforts to prevent Turkish military operations against Kurdish forces in Syria. The Kurds have been U.S. allies fighting ISIS there.
Nobody wants to say it. We're making the Kurds look like they're angels. We paid a lot of money to the Kurds.
President Trump argues it's not up to the U.S. to defend Syrian land from a Turkish invasion. Vice President Mike Pence and the Secretary of State, though, are heading to Turkey to push for a ceasefire in Syria. The co-owner of a California jewelry business just learning her fate in the college admissions cheating scandal. Marjorie Clapper gets 3 weeks in prison for paying to rig her son's ACT exam. Fox's Molly Line is at federal court in Boston.
The judge saying a few minutes ago, there's no question in my mind as I look at this defendant and that they thought they were doing was good for their children, but the offense here, cheating to put your child in better circumstance, it remains a serious offense despite good intentions. Clapper did apologize before the judge today in court, saying that she knew what she did was wrong and illegal, but in my heart, I wanted to help my son.
Clapper pleaded guilty to fraud charges. Prosecutors say she also falsified college applications by lying about her son's racial and ethnic background. Her attorneys denied any direct involvement in that, blaming the scandal's ringleader. Stocks fluctuating, the Dow down 22. America's listening to Fox News.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time, so you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's former senior aide, who resigned just last week, is now behind closed doors on Capitol Hill. The latest impeachment witness.
Michael McKinley spent 37 years at the State Department in the Foreign Service. Previously, he served as an ambassador to Afghanistan, Brazil, Colombia, and Peru. So he can compare and contrast the Trump administration's approach to foreign policy to that of other administrations, and whether the independent investigation by Rudy Giuliani into corruption allegations in Ukraine was out of bounds or other administrations did similar outreach.
Fox's Catherine Herridge on Capitol Hill. President Trump again today calling the impeachment probe a witch hunt. Meantime, another arrest linked to Ukraine and Rudy Giuliani. A man taken into custody at JFK Airport this morning is a business partner of 2 Giuliani associates already charged with campaign finance violations. A record number of candidates for a presidential debate, but the incumbent takes top trending honors on Twitter.
President Trump, still the most tweeted about politician during the 4th Democratic presidential debate on CNN. As far as candidates on the stage, Twitter data shows former Vice President Joe Biden was most tweeted about, followed by Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. The moment sparking the most buzz, candidate Julian Castro saying,
"Police violence is also gun violence, and we need to address that."
President Trump taking to Twitter to weigh in on the debate, calling the Democratic candidates clowns, saying the economy will crash if any of them were elected in 2020. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
Recapping Wall Street, a mixed day overall after yesterday's rally. The Dow down about 23 points, but still finishing just over 27K. Meantime, word of a tentative agreement in the GM strike, which is now a month old, failing to rally stocks. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge Police Chief Roger Porter was a guest on Divine Intervention with Mike Devine on KVFD AM 1400. Due to the recent increase in crime around Fort Dodge, Chief Porter says that the city is looking into possible options of more cameras to help reduce crime.
Cameras, and that's been a very hot topic here within the last couple of weeks. I think it's just finding the right way to get that out there. I've been inundated with ideas on different things that we could do from City Council right now, and we're looking at different avenues to try to figure out what we can do. Looking at potentially down the road trying to get some stuff out there that the city can invest in to partner with and put some cameras up around.
The City of Fort Dodge Public Works Department has announced that there has been a water main break that has resulted in low pressure, and as a result, a boiled water advisory has been issued for North 7th Street, north of Loomis Park, near the entrance of the city limits, as well as Miller Drive and 28th Avenue North. As a precautionary measure, people living in only those areas are advised to boil their water before usage. That advisory is in effect until further notice. The Public Works Department says they will make a public announcement when the boiled water advisory has been lifted for those areas. Federal officials have announced that an ear, nose, and throat doctor in Carroll with clinics in 8 other Iowa cities has agreed to pay $1 million to resolve allegations of Medicaid fraud. The doctor says the settlement is not an admission of wrongdoing. Radio Iowa's O.K. Henderson with more.
According to a news release from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Cedar Rapids, Dr. Tracy Wellendorf was accused of performing sinus surgeries that did not meet Medicaid's medically necessary standards or were incorrectly coded on bills submitted to Medicaid. Officials indicate the doctor's $1 million payment to the government relates to as many as 115 procedures performed from the fall of 2014 through the fall of 2015. Dr. Wellendorf released a written statement saying reasonable people can disagree about the best medical treatment options, and neither he nor the clinic are admitting doing anything wrong. Wellendorf said there were no adverse patient outcomes, and he's happy and relieved to have what he described as an expensive, time-consuming, and distracting matter resolved. A special agent in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says Dr. Wellendorf has agreed to 3 years of intensive quarterly monitoring by an independent review organization. Radio Iowa, I'm O.K. Henderson.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. High temperatures reach up to 50 this afternoon under overcast skies, winds out of the northwest 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows around 34. Tonight, partly cloudy. Bright sunshine expected. Tomorrow, highs level off around 62. Upper 60s. Friday, cooler on Saturday with highs in the mid-60s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 45.
Acre to acre, year to year, generation to generation. Nobody scrutinizes performance like you do. And acre to acre, year to year, generation to generation. The consistent performance of Asgrow brand soybeans helps to keep your profitability out in front. Offering a suite of tailored integrated solutions and 100% exclusive genetics for strong yield potential. Plus the Roundup Ready Extend crop system, the #1 soybean system planted by farmers. Featuring XtendiMax herbicide with Vapor Grip technology to control more weeds than any other soybean system, so you can spray your fields with confidence. Ask your dealer how much further you can grow when Asgrow leads the way. XtendiMax herbicide with Vapor Grip technology is a restricted use pesticide. Always read and follow IRM where applicable, grain marketing, and all other stewardship practices and pesticide label directions. Check with your state pesticide regulatory agency for specific restrictions in your state.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and of course, we're going to tell the truth, make it matter, and we're never going to be boring. Joining me in that effort once again today is Dr. Dean Stanzel, an economist at Southern Methodist University. Hi, Dean.
Hi, Michael. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Dr. Stanzel is with the O'Neill Center. Please explain the O'Neill Center.
Sure. The O'Neill Center for Global Markets and Freedom is a research institute in the Cox Business School at SMU in Dallas, and it was set up by one of our alums, William O'Neill, who was the founder of Investors Business Daily newspaper. And we focus on studying the impact of competitive market forces on freedom and prosperity in the global economy. We're at o'neillcenter.org, ONEIL.
As usual, Dr. Stanzel has sent me a number of talking points, and you can find them all on my Facebook page at AM 1400 KVFD. Let's start with, I really respect the National Review. An old major when I was in the service a couple of lifetimes ago showed me and recommended National Review to me. First of all, National Review is an intellectual conservative magazine. No, those two ideas are not incompatible, despite what some may think. This one concerns, the title of the piece is Our Tax Code is Progressive. What the New York Times didn't tell you. What are we talking about there, Dean?
Yeah, this is a pretty big issue, a pretty big debate amongst academic economists at least, but it also spilled over into the pages of the New York Times and the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal. All the major papers ran with this headline. The headline in the New York Times was "The rich really do pay lower taxes than you." So the National Review, Wall Street Journal, and others have come out and criticized the work behind this. It's based on a new book by a couple economists. I think they're both at Berkeley, who are also happen to be advisors to Senator Warren, and they did some of the work on her proposal for a wealth tax, which and some of that data work has been criticized as well. But here's what they came up with essentially, and they look at the effective tax rate by income level, and they conclude, the headline is that in 2018, the richest 400 households, overall tax rate was 23%, so that's looking at all levels of taxes, and they said that for the lowest, or for the bottom half of the income group, it was 24.4%. So the bottom half paid more than the richest 400, according to this data. And they have been roundly criticized, and this is not a left-right issue. You've got people like the former head of President Obama's Council of Economic Advisors, Jason Furman, who's no right-winger. You've got the Congressional Budget Office. You've got the Joint Tax Committee of Congress. You've got all sorts of people who are in favor essentially of what these guys are recommending, but are saying you have really taken some liberties with the data here, and because other estimates by groups like the CBO come to very different conclusions. The rich do pay substantially more than those in the bottom half, and not only that, Michael, but the 2018 data. So the IRS releases this data on a lag, of course. Well, the 2018 data isn't out yet, so unless they have some sort of secret mole in Trump's IRS. They are literally making stuff up. Now, I'm not saying that they're pulling it out of the sky, but they have to have a model of which includes various assumptions to come up with the numbers, and they've not been very transparent about that. Now, their book's not out yet, and that's part of it. But they got a front seat at the New York Times to push this narrative that's based on pretty dodgy statistical work.
I'm amazed that the New York Times would carry this report, and I'm even more stunned that the economists from Berkeley. Wow, that's Communist Central, Berkeley. I mean, Berkeley has been one of the most, if not the most, liberal universities in the country.
Right. Yeah, it has, and these guys are essentially well-respected academic economists. One of them won there's this award every year for the best academic economist under age 40. One of those guys won that, and so I mean they've done good work. Kind of like Krugman. Krugman did good work back when he was focusing on academic work, but this is not what I would call good work. And like I said, they've got a pass to the front of the line to get huge publicity for their new book, and essentially for ideas promoting a particular candidate, Elizabeth Warren. That a lot of news outlets look, they see it's in the New York Times and they just run with it. They're like, okay, it must be all the news that's fit to print, so it must be good. And so it generated headlines all over the place last week, and there's still this kind of heated back and forth between academics on Twitter about how they're basically lying with the data. It's kind of entertaining for nerdy academics to be having these Twitter fights. It's not,
sure, yeah, it really is.
It doesn't usually happen that way. Hey, another thing they did, in addition to the fact that the data for 18 isn't out yet. Here's one thing that the U.S. does. It's kind of similar to Milton Friedman's idea of a negative income tax, which is similar to the universal basic income. But we have what's called the earned income tax credit, and I'm sure some of your listeners have heard about this and know what it is. It's designed to essentially reduce the tax burden on the working poor. If you're working and your income is below a certain point, you get basically a tax credit, a refundable tax credit that helps to offset the taxes that they're taking out of your paycheck. And it's a fundamental part of the tax code that's been there forever. What these guys did is they pulled out the EITC. So in other words, if you're a taxpayer paying, say your income isn't high enough to actually pay income taxes, but you're paying $2,000, say in a payroll tax for Social Security, and you get a $1,500 EITC, refundable tax credit, your tax burden is essentially $500. They're counting it as the $2,000 because they're leaving out the refundable part, which it diverts highly from the way people have always measured the tax burden. This is on your 1040. This is part of the tax code, and they leave it out, and it bolsters their claim, right? It skews the evidence in their favor.
Of course.
So yet another example where these guys are playing around with the numbers, and they have an axe to grind. I mean, we all do, I guess, but they are doing it from a highly advantaged position.
I've often thought that people that make $20,000 a year should pay no taxes of any kind, but there should be an agreement that they're then ineligible for any other sort of services. No food stamps, thank you. None of these other things. $20,000 will get you by. Mm-hmm. I mean, you'll eat. You will not. You'll not eat well, and you'll not live well. But it may spur you to do something else rather than sit there and make $20,000 a year. There are ways to improve your life.
Right, and of course, at $20,000 a year, you're not paying federal income taxes. At least at the end of the year, you're going to get.
No, you're not paying federal income taxes.
But you're right. There's other taxes. The sales tax is certainly something that is not avoidable, and that is kind of the point of the earned income tax credit, is to help compensate those lower income working people for the other taxes that they really can't avoid. And if you think about the proposals, this has been a while, I guess, but the fair tax and the notion of a national sales tax, all those plans had included in it a way to deal with the sales tax, a way to basically have a pre-funded rebate so that you can remove that burden of sales taxes. It's arguably regressive, at least when you look at an annual snapshot of income on those lower income working people. So it seems like they could find a way to do that would accomplish the objectives of helping the working poor better than some of the things we're trying to do now with the minimum wage is one example, but there are all sorts of.
You are just at war without that minimum wage. I just don't get that. I just don't get that.
Hey, it's fundamental to basic economic theory that if you raise the price of something, you're going to have less of it purchased. And when you're raising the price of low-skilled labor, you're going to have employers buy less of it. And therefore, the people you're trying to help get hurt. The people who get the benefit tend to be, the high school and college kids of wealthy families and people like that who don't need a break from government. They've got themselves an advantaged position already. And so, the minimum wage is a dead horse I'll be beaten till the day I die. A lot of us will. Hopefully.
Well, there's other ways to keep down welfare costs and to spur incentive. I would think getting rid of the incentives for single young women to have children would be a good one. It's still there. I mean,
well, it's not as strong as it used to be, right? The Clinton welfare reform took care of some of that in terms of the increased paycheck welfare check you get. I guess there's still some incentive in terms of some of the tax credits, but if you're the working poor, you're not really paying the tax anyway. I guess some of those are refundable.
I really can't give Bill Clinton credit for anything. Sorry, I just can't do it. Dr. Dean Stansel's our guest. He's an economist at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. Yes, Dallas. It was on TV just the other night. We won't talk about it.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't watch the NFL.
You don't watch the Cowboys?
I don't watch any of the NFL, really. But yeah, I saw that they lost to the Jets. The Jets were winless like the Dolphins.
Oh, yeah. I really think that Coach Garrett's going to lose his job over that, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, he's been there a wrong time. I mean, it's
10 years he's been a head coach. That's a long time in the NFL.
No doubt, yeah.
Except if you're Bill Belichick, of course.
Well.
Anyway, there's another article from the New York Times that Dr. Stansel sent me. And this one surprised me. It's entitled, The Rich Really Do Pay Lower Taxes Than You Do, and it's by David Leonhardt, who is a regular contributor to the New York Times. He may even be a columnist for the Times.
Right.
And he is usually a left-wing bozo. But here he makes an argument and backs it up with facts that the rich pay lower taxes than you do.
Yeah, so this is the one I was talking about earlier. So yeah, this is the article where he's quoting all these two Berkeley economists in their new book. But yeah, this is the one that got repeated and quoted all over the place last week. And it's just sloppy. I mean, it's a sloppy methodology. It's a shame. It's a shame. But yeah, this is the article I was talking about earlier that drove all of this. It was quite a thing last week, and continues to be debated this week.
Well, you got to write a book then and straighten them out, Dean. That's all you need to do. There you go.
If it was only that simple.
Well, okay.
I don't think I'd get the New York Times treatment, though, if I wrote a book. Somehow I don't think I'd have an op-ed about my book prominently published. I think it came out on a Sunday or something.
You know, there's another debate tonight among the Democratic candidates, and I assume I'll see Robert Francis O'Rourke, who keeps calling himself Beto. And he is, I saw an article the other day that said Beto O'Rourke is channeling the Democratic Party id, and I think that's probably true. Beto wants to strip the tax-exempt status of churches if they don't recognize gay marriage and think like Beto, I guess. Michael Gerson, a columnist with the Washington Post, talks about, it's an innovative for interpreting a failed Senate campaign. That's true. And of course, Beto's out there. He's not getting any traction, and he's saying all kinds of crazy things. But this one is perhaps the most controversial proposal I've seen for quite some time. Beto says there can be no reward, no benefit, no tax break for anyone or any institution, any organization in America that denies full human rights and the full civil rights of every single one of us. He's talking about gay marriage. In churches, of course, Christian churches, most of them, recognize, or at least it's part of their canon, that gay unions are not correct in the eyes of God. Now, this is clearly a church-state issue. Where do you come down on this?
Yeah, I mean, that last bit is changing over time. There are my wife and I attend Episcopal Church, and there was a split in the Episcopal Church, and there are a set of them that do approve of gay marriage and can conduct the ceremonies and have gay priests and that sort of thing. And I think that some of the non-denominational churches are way more open.
Oh yeah, they are.
Than some of the mainline ones, but I think things are moving in that direction culturally, and this is one of those issues where it just takes time for people's views to change. Maybe some of the churches will never change, but I think that you'll see more of them moving in that direction. And the issue to me is really fairly simple, that the whole point of the separation of church and state would be violated by what he's promoting. But if you take away the tax exemption then you're essentially forcing the church to support the state financially, and then you open up the whole can of worms of, how can you, what does that do for the whole founder's intent of keeping church and state separate? It seems so out there and so fraught with complicated problems that it would create that it's hard to understand what would drive someone to propose this. But think about one thing that this op-ed mentioned is think about all the good work that churches do financially to help the poor and the hungry and providing all sorts of help for refugees and substance abusers. And if they're having to pay taxes now, they're going to be less able to do that work. And that's, this is one of the areas where private, voluntary, charitable action can be really helpful in local communities because these guys know what's going on in that community better than some social worker in D.C. And so it would reduce that, and that alone to me is enough reason to oppose it. But the whole notion of kind of violating that separation of church and state, I don't get where he's coming from on this, and I don't think anyone will really think this was a good idea. Although I guess that's fundamentally false. Of course, some people.
Well, as you say, the Democratic Party continues to evolve or devolve depending on your point of view.
Right, but his lack of getting traction, I think, maybe tells us something.
Oh yeah, I mean he's failing as a candidate, so he's screaming about barging into everybody's house and taking their guns and things like this. There's a very passionate gay rights movement out there. It's a small but influential group within the Democratic Party, and yeah, he's just being a hack politician. Period. Of end of story. That's really all the attention he needs from us or anybody else. It'll be interesting to see what latest pronouncement he makes tonight during the debates. But
if you just keep throwing enough stuff out there, maybe
there you go, man.
Work, right?
That's absolutely correct. Now I'm sorry we wasted. I almost didn't bring it up because I'm just not a fan of this guy's at all. But anyway, I prefer.
It's an interesting story, I think.
Yeah, well, kind of. Yeah, those. I prefer, and this is on my Facebook page as well, of course. The hotel mini shampoos. California has banned them.
Shocking, right?
Oh God, I love this. I just
the
love
subhead was, "Of course they did."
Of course they did.
Well, and the thing is that like Marriott, for example, a big, huge private hotel company, is already in the process of phasing these things out. It'll be done by the end of 2020. But and the California thing is pretty doesn't go in until 2023. But in the big picture, the data kind of doesn't support this even being a very good idea in terms of actually having a strong effect on the quantity of plastic in the oceans, which I guess is the big issue people have. The vast majority of that stuff is coming from somewhere else, the developing world, from China. We're doing a pretty good job on this issue, but I think if you have private hotels already moving in that direction, what's the point? Yeah. And they're going to do it faster than you. It's just it's similar to the O'Rourke thing, right? It's kind of grandstanding. It's like this governor out there wants to take credit for all this stuff that the people on the left will like. Presumably, he's got eyes on running for higher office, and I think this is just another example. Although another example of you can't just blame the governor because it was a bill in the the state legislature. It's another example of how the state legislature out there is really out there.
Yeah, it is.
It's just one more example of things they're doing that are going to make business more raise the cost of doing business and drive people away.
We're going to finish up here with one of Dr. Stanzel and mine's favorite topics, the over-licensing of America. You have to have a license to go fishing, own property, start a business, build a home, get married, hunt, own a weapon, cut hair, sell a product, protest, or sell food. Even in some states, you need a permit to collect rainwater. So are we making any progress in this struggle against this? What this is, of course, is taxation. This is taxation.
Yeah, it is. You're right about that. And in the short term, there's some small victories here or there. Over the longer spectrum. We've got, at this point, about a quarter of all jobs in the U.S. Now require a license. It used to be much less than that. But states, a lot of this is state-level stuff, and the states are recognizing the problems. And Mississippi and North Carolina and I believe Nebraska put in place a big reform recently. There's a handful of states listed here in this Reason article that have moved in this area to try to reduce the burden on some of these things, because ultimately the argument usually is sort of public health interest or something like that, or safety. But if you look at the list of things that are licensed, in Florida you need a license to be an interior designer. In Louisiana you need a license to be a florist. I mean, there are all sorts of things where this is just protectionism. It's basically the incumbent providers of those services wanting to make it more costly for competitors to enter the market.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had the hairstyling licensing process here in Iowa that was just an absolute scandal. I mean, the people who were making money were the people who owned the hairstyling schools. They were millionaires, and usually young women who went to these hairstyling schools put in 1,500 hours or something, paid all kinds of money, and when they got out, they were making $11 or $12 an hour. And that was it. You know, it was just a scam, is all it was, a state-sponsored scam.
Right. One of the things that doesn't get talked about a lot is the way this hurts people with criminal records. And so you can have some sort of criminal record that really has nothing to do with the field you're trying to work in, and you've served your time, and you're out, and you're trying to get a legitimate job. And these license requirements, a lot of them explicitly prohibit you if you have a criminal record, and so it makes it less likely they'll become enter the regular legal market, and more likely they'll be recidivist and get back into the life of crime. And so some states are recognizing this and trying to make improvements in that area as well to help people who legitimately want to stay out of prison and stay out of crime to be able to do so.
Yeah, sure. Recidivist, repeat offender.
Right.
Great line from the movie Arizona. No, not Arizona. It was
Raising Arizona?
Yeah, Leaving Arizona. Something.
Leaving Las Vegas.
No, not Leaving Las Vegas.
Arizona.
Same guy, though. It was Nicolas Cage in both of them. I can't remember. Anyway, Dr. Dean Stanzel is an economist with Southern Methodist University and the O'Neill Center in Dallas, Texas. Dr. Stanzel, thank you as always.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
It's 3:32, and the news is next at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Staples is more than a place you go to buy a new PC.
It's where an associate helped me find the latest tech I needed to work smarter, not harder. Where I got a protection plan plus 24/7 tech support that keeps me connected. And where I increased my productivity for a lot less than what I thought I'd spend.
Right now at Staples, you can save up to $270 on the latest PCs. Staples, for your business tech and beyond. In-store only, ends 10/26/19 while supplies last. Exclusions apply.
Now, we've all heard this way too often. If you're like me, when it comes to making a big purchase like buying a car, you don't want someone yelling a lot and pressuring you into getting something you can't afford. So I did my research.
For your next used vehicle, do your research and then head to Humboldt Motor Sales. The atmosphere is relaxing and they'll help you find the pre-owned vehicle of your dreams. So when people ask where you got your ride, the answer is simple. Humboldt Motor Sales or online at HumboldtGM.com.
October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and purple is the color for domestic violence awareness. Wearing the color purple this month helps break the silence. Join us, the Domestic Sexual Assault Outreach Center, at St. Paul Lutheran Church for our annual Candlelight Vigil at 6 p.m. on Thursday, October 24th. We will have a guest speaker who is a survivor and will be reading the names of those that have lost their lives due to domestic violence in Iowa. Everyone is welcome to attend. Please join DSOC in the fight to end domestic violence.
Okay, you know how it feels when you've saved enough for that long-awaited home edition? Now imagine an addition on that addition. Whoa. That's the feeling with Capital One, where a new savings account earns an interest rate 5 times the national average. That's right, 5 times, as represented by 5 times more singers. This is banking reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Rate comparison based on FDIC national rate. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
Today through next Tuesday, Lumber Liquidators Flooring Yard Sale has over 400 floors on sale, up to 50% off. If It's a sale so abundant that it literally cannot fit in our showroom and must spill out onto our parking lot. Or, for the sake of the metaphor, our yard. Or is it our driveway? Let's not get caught up in semantics. What's important here is that there are many, many floors on sale, up to 50% off. These are the floors homes are built on. Lumber Liquidators Flooring.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge Police Chief Roger Porter was a guest on Divine Intervention with Mike Devine on KVFD AM 1400. Due to the recent increase in crime around Fort Dodge, Chief Porter says that the city is looking into possible options of more cameras to help reduce crime.
Cameras, and that's been a very hot topic here within the last couple of weeks. I think it's just finding the right way to get that out there. I've been inundated with ideas on different things that we could do from City Council right now, and we're looking at different avenues to try to figure out what we can do. Looking at potentially down the road trying to get some stuff out there that the city can invest in to partner with and put some cameras up around.
The City of Fort Dodge Public Works Department has announced that there has been a water main break that has resulted in low pressure, and as a result, a boiled water advisory has been issued for North 7th Street, north of Loomis Park, near the entrance of the city limits, as well as Miller Drive and 28th Avenue North. As a precautionary measure, people living in only those areas are advised to boil their water before usage. That advisory is in effect until further notice. The Public Works Department says they will make a public announcement when the boiled water advisory has been lifted for those areas. Federal officials have announced that an ear, nose, and throat doctor in Carroll with clinics in 8 other Iowa cities has agreed to pay $1 million to resolve allegations of Medicaid fraud. The doctor says the settlement is not an admission of wrongdoing. Radio Iowa's O.K. Henderson with more.
According to a news release from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Cedar Rapids, Dr. Tracy Wellendorf was accused of performing sinus surgeries that did not meet Medicaid's medically necessary standards or were incorrectly coded on bills submitted to Medicaid. Officials indicate the doctor's $1 million payment to the government relates to as many as 115 procedures performed from the fall of 2014 through the fall of 2015. Dr. Wellendorf released a written statement saying reasonable people can disagree about the best medical treatment options, and neither he nor the clinic are admitting doing anything wrong. Wellendorf said there were no adverse patient outcomes, and he's happy and relieved to have what he described as an expensive, time-consuming, and distracting matter resolved. A special agent in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says Dr. Wellendorf has agreed to 3 years of intensive quarterly monitoring by an independent review organization. Radio Iowa, I'm O.K. Henderson.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. High temperatures reach up to 50 this afternoon under overcast skies. Winds out of the northwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows around 34. Tonight, partly cloudy. Bright sunshine expected. Tomorrow, highs level off around 62. Upper 60s. Friday, cooler on Saturday with highs in the mid-60s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 45.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. December corn down 1.5 at 391 3/4. March down 3/4 at 403 1/2. May corn down 3/4 at 409 3/4. July down 1/2 penny at 414 3/4. November soybeans down 6 cents at 9.28. January down 6 1/4 at 9.43 1/4. March down 4 3/4 at 9.54 1/2. And May beans down 3 3/4 at 9.63 1/4. December wheat up 6 1/4 at 5.13 1/4. Soybean meal down $3 a ton at 304.80. October live cattle up 135 at 112.35. December up 42 at 113.87. October feeders up 22 at 145.22. November down 15 cents at 145.92. December lean hogs down 150 at 70.62. February down 30 at 78.85. I'm Dwayne Murley.
What is baloney? I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Bologna is a sausage and is made from the trimmings of pork and beef steaks and roasts. Much like hot dogs, the meat is ground and mixed with spices, put in casings, and cooked. Eric Mittenhall, president of the National Hot Dog and Sausage Council, says bologna is extremely versatile and well known.
Well, it's something we all grew up with. It's something that most of us have enjoyed bologna sandwiches as a child. I think in recent years, as people are looking for fresher products, bologna, the popularity has diminished a little bit. But I think, a lot of people don't really know that much about bologna and the different types that are out there and the variety of ways that it can be prepared. Even in developing the new guide that we put together, we weren't even aware of the bologna wrapped hot dog that's available in Baltimore. And we're the hot dog experts. We hadn't even heard of that before. But fried bologna sandwiches in Memphis, there's a lot of really unique ways that you can make bologna that chefs have really started getting behind as well. So, if you enjoyed it as a child and just think of it as a simple bologna sandwich, those are great, but there's almost a bologna renaissance that's on the verge of happening, we feel like, with some of the chefs behind it.
There are low sodium and flavored bolognas to choose from. It's high in protein like the meat it's made from. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Some measure success by Italian suits, corner offices, and luxury yachts. Farmers measure success differently. It's breathing fresh country air, taking care of the people you love, and knowing how to measure success in your soybean acres? That's smart. With Credenz soybeans, you get a precise variety bred to fit your acres. And that Credenz variety comes with agronomic expertise and local insights from your BASF team. So plant your sign of success. Talk to your authorized Credenz retailer or local BASF seed advisor. Always read and follow label directions.
As a farmer, I want a cooperative that's there for me.
Not the other way around.
A local co-op that works for me and works with CHS.
To connect me with local experts I know and trust.
And put a global network of markets and supply at my fingertips.
A co-op that's here to help us.
Own every day.
When you're an owner of a local cooperative connected to CHS, you get local expertise, a proven, efficient supply chain, and global market access. Learn more at cooperativeownership.com.
Message and data rates may apply. Please do not text and drive. See purple.com for terms and conditions.
And now for an important announcement. Do you, or does someone you know, sweat the bed? Do you ever wake up feeling like you've been sleeping on a slip and slide? Sweating the bed is a serious but a common problem that affects your sleep, health, and happiness. Plus, it's just plain gross. But it's not you, it's your mattress. Fortunately, there is a cure. It's called Purple. Purple is the only mattress with the scientifically engineered Smart Comfort Grid. This patented technology is designed to let air flow freely so you sleep cool. Side effects of sleeping on Purple include sleeping better, feeling better, and, well, honestly, smelling better. Try the Purple mattress risk-free for 100 nights and never sweat the bed again. And for a limited time, pick a free Purple product with your mattress purchase by texting TRIAL to 84888. The coolest sleep of your life and a free Purple product by texting TRIAL to 84888. That's TRIAL to 84888.
How do smart, hard-working roofing contractors keep jobs running smoothly? They save time with Beacon. The Beacon Pro Plus app features online ordering, automated rebate tracking, and online bill pay. Choose products like high-quality CertainTeed shingles and accessories. Easily find the style, color, and quantity, and let the app do the ordering for you. With Beacon Pro Plus, order 24/7 from anywhere. You work hard. Now work smarter. Download the free app at beaconproplus.com.
Have the talk of the lifetime with the ones you love.
Grandma, this card asks, when did you get a TV and what was your favorite show?
I think around 1950 they had a Fort Dodge TV station that had a local barn dance show every Saturday night. Oh, honey, it was so much fun. They'd play instruments, we would sing and dance.
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most isn't just important today, it will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
Managing weeds after a challenging 2019. Hello, I'm Megan Grebner, and this is Managing for Profit on Brownfield, a content partnership with the Roundup Ready Extend crop system. 2019 has been one of the most challenging planting and growing seasons for farmers yet. In this Managing for Profit, Bayer Crop Protection lead Ty Whitten talks about ways growers can best manage weeds this fall after harvest to prepare for the 2020 growing season. We'll find out more on Brownfield right after this.
I'm Alejandro Escobedo.
Music has always been my life, but that was almost taken away from me by hepatitis C. Thankfully, I received treatment and stopped cancer before it started. Yes, cancer. Most people don't know there's a link between certain viruses and cancer. I didn't know, but I do now, and so should you. That's why I've partnered with the Prevent Cancer Foundation. The 3 most common viruses linked to cancer are human papillomavirus, or HPV, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C. Every year, more than 27,000 men and women are diagnosed with a cancer caused by HPV, and up to 65% of all liver cancers are caused by Hep B or C. These cancers are preventable. Getting screened, vaccinated, and treated isn't scary, but cancer is. For more information, visit thinkaboutthelink.org. Together, we can stop cancer before it starts.
There has been nothing easy about the 2019 growing season. Bears Ty Witten says there have been challenges from the very beginning.
Trying to get even in the field early on, get those fields planted, and a lot of them ended up in prevent plant. So a lot of unmanaged areas and difficult to control weeds have been left unchecked. We're also in those fields that did get planted. Again, weed control was really high and difficult to manage. And now we're moving into harvest. Late season, plants are still growing. We're here fixing to be September and we're not drying down corn yet. Thinking about weed control at harvest is going to be a really important factor this year. Again, as a grower goes in and that combine's going across the field, trying to take stock in what weeds are still there, if the climate's still available, should I do some fall weed control at harvest to think about preventing what I'm going to have starting next spring. Again, those weeds have been left to seed potentially. Getting on top of that weed control is going to be a really key factor for the agronomists, for their dealers, and their crop consultants to stay on top of.
He tells Brownfield it will be vitally important for growers to know what weed control challenges they're facing this fall.
Taking that good survey of understanding what are the condition of those weeds. Did they set seed? What are the populations made of? Are they grass or are they broadleaf seed or weeds that have been left to proliferate in that system? Then think about what type of pesticides could I use for a weed control or getting maybe a residual down as well, but really setting up so I'm hitting a program early for burn down, residual, overlapping those in next spring and making sure you're on top of what may have been seeded this fall. So getting ahead of that, talking with your local extension folks are the best recommendations depending on what your soil type and weed populations would be.
Witten says farmers have some tough decisions to make this fall as they prepare for the 2020 growing season.
Really thinking about what goes in now for a rotation year. They didn't have a commodity. Am I going back with beans or corn, or can I pull it out and maybe do a different type of wheat crop or other pieces? A lot of land changing for cash rent. That's going to affect potentially on who gets that land next year, on how it was managed this year. So a lot of decisions agronomically a person's got to get in, but really I think predicated on weed control, weed populations. That continues to be a challenge for us. It's rate limiting in terms of yield potential. Getting on top of resistant weeds and managing those well is going to be an important factor.
I'm Megan Grebner with Managing for Profit on Brownfield, a content partnership with the Roundup Ready Extend crop system.
Need a new roof? Have you considered that there's very few roofers to choose from, and come September, everyone at once will decide their roof must be completed before winter? The last thing you want is the winter roof that will never seal properly, or an improperly installed roof done by a contractor you may never see again. Don't wait any longer. Call Hahn Roofing today, and in most cases, they can start your project within 2 weeks and finish within 1 or 2 days. Call Hahn Roofing today for your free estimate. 515-573-7440. That's Hahn Roofing, 515-573-7440.
Iowa hog farmers have a lot to be proud of.
Proud of the quality products we put on tables around the world.
Proud of the strides we make to protect Iowa's natural resources.
Proud of the number of Iowans we're able to employ in safe workplaces.
Proud to protect and promote animal well-being in everything we do.
Iowa pork producers are proud because they do it right. And that's something all Iowans can take pride in.
Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
Iowa's pork producers work hard daily to produce safe, affordable food. Through the industry's We Care initiative, hog farmers are firmly committed to doing things right. That means keeping their pigs safe and healthy, safeguarding natural resources, protecting public health, and building strong communities. Producers fully understand the importance of pork quality, responsible production, and continuous improvement. It's the moral and ethical thing to do. Sponsored by Iowa's pork producers and their pork checkoff.
Michael Devine.
You're very clever, my charming little friend.
With more stimulating talk radio.
But not clever enough.
Work it out, work it out. And now from the house of urban deliciousness, it's Julian Castro.
So happy to be here. And look, I even got a participation ribbon. Now come on, cut to the chase. When do the Queer Eye guys come out? I want to go rock climbing with Karamo.
Oh, this isn't Queer Eye Center.
Actually, it's Secretary.
I wouldn't tell people that. Okay, next question.
My question is, if elected, what will you do to bring queer voices into your cabinet?
Well, first of all, gracias. As a Democrat, I want to apologize for not being gay. But I promise to do better in the future. However, I am Latino, which we can all agree is something.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. All Democrats should apologize for not being gay. But I'm glad to hear that Julian Castro has promised to try to do better. No, that's from Saturday Night Live. NBC Saturday Night Live, right. That's not real, but like all comedy, it has elements of truth in it. That's the key thing about comedy of any kind, is has elements of truth. The debates, again, the other night, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. First of all, it was totalitarianism on display. Beto O'Rourke apparently is so irritated he's going to burst into people's homes and take their guns. Oh, it just has to happen. I understand he wants to confiscate the New York Yankees baseball bats as well. I mean, the guy's nuts. If the Republicans, or not the Republicans, but the Democrats should be urging Beto to get out of the race for the good of the party. Even though he really is the Democratic Party id. This is where he wants to go. This is what he wants to do. If he wants to take your gun, he believes that he has the right to do that. He and his party have the right to take your gun. Always says, oh, I'm not talking about, most guns, but I'm talking about these AR-15s and all these other assault-type weapons that only belong on a battlefield. Well, some of our cities are battlefields. Some places in our town are battlefields. In Fort Dodge are battlefields on occasion. But the real thing is, if he can take those guns, he can take any guns. If he can blow by the Second Amendment. And how did the Second Amendment get to be this second-rate amendment? It's the Second Amendment. After the First Amendment, the founders decided correctly that free speech and free thought was the First Amendment. It should hold an important place in our rights and freedoms. And they were correct. The Second Amendment was the right to protect yourself, the right to keep and bear arms. You can get into a lot of nonsense. Oh, they thought it was militia or whatever. No, they really didn't. The idea at the time of the founders to be stripped of the ability to own a weapon was preposterous. So Beto O'Rourke is Beto O'Rourke, and he wants to tax the churches. He doesn't want to tax the churches. He wants to remove the tax-exempt status of churches if they do not follow the Democratic Party's absolute commitment to gay marriage. If you are a Christian church or a synagogue or a mosque and your faith does not allow for gay relationships or certainly not gay marriage, well, according to Beto, you should lose your tax-exempt status. You should lose your tax-exempt status. Ladies and gentlemen, for what I heard last night, if anybody votes Democratic in the entire middle of the country, I have no idea why. I think you're burning down your own house. I really do think you're burning down your own house. That what we saw was a bi-coastal party on display. In fact, they even brought it up. Some of the candidates said we have to get away from the fact that in some people's mind that we're a bi-coastal party. Well, fine, make a move to show us you're not a bi-coastal party. But I haven't seen any moves in that direction. By the way, Ilhan Omar has announced her support for Bernie Sanders. So somebody should talk Bernie off the ledge, because that's the end of him. That's the end of poor old Bernie. Bernie Sanders, I went for him big in 2016, and I think he's a good man, and I think he wants big change in our country, which is something the moderate Democrats, which includes Pete Buttigieg, do not want. They're afraid they'll lose the election if they get too big, which means they're still afraid of Donald Trump. They're still afraid of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is a master brander. He can hang a name on you and you're done. He can hang a name on you and you're done. He'll repeat it everywhere he goes. So the Democratic Party is still afraid of Donald Trump. And they're afraid of Donald Trump, who some believe is the worst president ever, because some of their candidates in the party itself isn't that good. They know it. They got tied into this "we have policies" thing by Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. And they really, really can't generate. Come on in here, Keith. Keith Dinklaw, county supervisor, is going to come in here. Angie's here too. Angie's here too. Oh, okay. And he's going to talk about that 10%. Okay, all right. Did you see that debate last night there, Keith?
Well, what? No, I couldn't get it on. I don't have CNN.
I
really don't. No, I really don't. I just have.
Everybody's got CNN.
I got just local cable, and I got about 50 stations, but CNN wasn't one of them. I looked and I couldn't find it.
Channel 60. Do you get Mediacom or something?
Yeah, I got media. No, I got Dish.
Oh, you have Dish. I don't know. Well, I don't know.
I have Dish, and I have a whole bunch of stations, but that wasn't one of them. I've watched some of it. Wow, what a fiasco.
Yeah, it was something. It was really something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose we got a Democrat here with us. Maybe we got to knock all this talk off.
I don't know.
Angie,
I will say I am a registered Democrat, but I've always voted for the person I like the best.
Well, that's good policy. So
she's going to be voting for Trump this year.
Well, I did last time. So.
No,
yeah, I tell you.
Oh, you're done over at the courthouse.
People are like, why are you a Democrat? Because I find myself voting for the...
Well, the Democratic Party mafia has heard that, and they think they own all the county and city seats, so you're out.
Yeah, I'm the only Republican on the board.
Oh, you're going to be out, too.
Yeah,
you're going to be out. You're going to be out.
Yeah, we won't talk politics.
No.
You don't want to talk politics?
No.
Okay, well...
I don't care.
All right, yeah, Keith doesn't care.
I don't care.
Did you you were out at the Webster County Republican
yes,
Ken and Jane Rash.
What a great show it was.
Great turnout, yeah.
Great turnout. They said 300.
Yeah, I believe it, don't you?
Yeah, I think the Democrats had 50 at theirs.
No, it was 80, I think they decided. But
no, it was a great turnout and great speakers. I mean, everybody did a good job.
Well, the Democrats have made strides.
Yes.
The Democrats have made strides. They've taken some seats on the county board of supervisors and city council and those sorts of things.
Local politics isn't political.
You should tell the Democrats that.
To me, our
they
board,
think it's local.
I mean, it really is. But when
they
it gets down to
important.
it, I don't care if they're a Democrat or Republican as long as they work together.
Well, you remember, we're both old enough to remember how Democratic this county once was.
Absolutely.
You were probably a Democrat back in those days.
Yes, I was. Yeah.
So you farmers all got so rich. Now they're Republicans.
Just give it away.
Now they're Republicans. Just give it away.
That's what they want to do. Just give everybody everything.
Give it away.
Nobody's going to have to work, are they?
Well, that's what I heard.
Yeah, everybody's just we're just going to live off the government.
I'm getting ready to retire anyway, so what's that mean to me? Just give it away.
One lady wants to pay you to have kids, I guess. The more kids you have, the more money you get.
When I talked to somebody about that, who was the politician I had on the air with me? I can't remember that. We have to find some way to stop incentivizing young women from having children. It ruins their lives. It ruins the kids' lives. Mm-hmm. And it's an endless cycle of BS and, and the places.
And we can't afford it at the end.
I'm talking about Oh, I'm going to get in trouble with Keith here. I'm talking about some of the landlords and property owners that we have in town letting their property go to hell. You don't do that, do you, Keith?
No, my property is up to shape.
All right. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad, but that's another thing we have to do.
I have my tenants call me immediately if they have something wrong, and I usually stop in, once or twice, 4 times a year and say, hey, do you need anything? I want you to be happy here. I stop in and say, is everything working good? Because they pay their rent on time, so I want to make it so it's nice. It's like that when they moved in. I want to keep it like that.
All right, Angie Vinson, Keith Dinklaw in the next half hour. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 4 o'clock.
Straight talk on life and money. This is the Dave Ramsey Show on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Bipartisan pressure on the president. Lisa Brady, Fox News. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says President Trump had what she describes as a meltdown during a bipartisan meeting with congressional leaders this afternoon, shortly after the House overwhelmingly passed a resolution opposing the president's recent shift in strategy in Syria.
Besides the vote, more than 2-1 of the Republicans voted to oppose what the president did. Probably got to the president because he was shaken up by it.
Pelosi speaking just after the White House meeting where Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer said the president was insulting to the speaker, calling her a third-rate politician.
This was not a dialogue. It was sort of a diatribe, a nasty diatribe, not focused on the facts, particularly the fact of how to curtail ISIS.
Republicans have a different take on the same meeting.
Unfortunately, the speaker tries to make everything political.
House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy moments ago saying Pelosi and others stormed out of the meeting. President Trump earlier today defending the decision to move a few dozen U.S. troops out of harm's way in northern Syria.
And all I'm saying is this: I'm not going to lose potentially thousands and tens of thousands of American soldiers fighting a war between Turkey and Syria.
But he denies giving Turkey a green light to invade, just releasing the letter he sent to President Erdogan, urging him not to let the world down and urging him to make a deal instead. Meantime, the president blaming the House Speaker for the impeachment probe.
She's created a phony witch hunt, another one. First one failed. They're all failing. This one is just absolutely crazy.
The latest witness for 3 House committees is a longtime diplomat, Michael McKinley, who resigned last week as the senior aide to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. America is listening to Fox News.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time, so you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Tentative agreement that could end the month-long strike against GM. No details yet.
Jessica Smithley is a temporary worker at a GM plant in Indiana. She says the strike hasn't just been for workers today.
Representing all future GM employees and temps. So I hope that they have created a clear, direct pathway, for us to be hired.
Workers also seek more profit sharing and job security.
Fox's Gernal Scott, there could be a UAW vote on the deal tomorrow. Another parent sentenced in the college admissions cheating scandal.
She's a California mom, the co-owner of a jewelry business. She had asked for home confinement as part of her punishment. Prosecutors has asked for 4 months behind bars. So today, the judge made the call, Judge Indira Telwani, saying that she will spend 3 weeks behind bars.
Fox's Molly Line at federal court in Boston. Marjorie Clapper admitted paying $15,000 to rig her son's ACT exam, but her attorneys pushed back on prosecutors' claims that she also falsified college applications to lie about her son's racial and ethnic background. The defense blamed that on the scandal's ringleader. Prepare to have your heart warmed.
A 2-year-old leukemia survivor caught on video dancing with his dad, celebrating 11 months cancer-free. The toddler, named Christian of New Jersey, seen throwing his hands up in the air, all smiles. The proud father, Kenny Clutch Thomas, sharing the viral clip to Instagram. Kenny goes by the nickname The Dancing Dad on the platform, earning over 83,000 followers. He began sharing clips when Christian was in the hospital undergoing chemotherapy, realizing plenty of folks need positive, uplifting videos and messages. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
Stocks end lower on Wall Street, but the Dow still just above 27K. Lisa Brady, this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge Police Chief Roger Porter was a guest on Divine Intervention with Mike Devine on KVFD AM 1400. Due to the recent increase in crime around Fort Dodge, Chief Porter says that the city is looking into possible options of more cameras to help reduce crime.
Cameras, and that's been a very hot topic here within the last couple of weeks. I think it's just finding the right way to get that out there. I've been inundated with ideas on different things that we could do from City Council right now, and we're looking at different avenues to try to figure out what we can do. Looking at potentially down the road trying to get some stuff out there that the city can invest in to partner with and put some cameras up around.
The City of Fort Dodge Public Works Department has announced that there has been a water main break that has resulted in low pressure, and as a result, a boiled water advisory has been issued for North 7th Street, north of Loomis Park, near the entrance of the city limits, as well as Miller Drive and 28th Avenue North. As a precautionary measure, people living in only those areas are advised to boil their water before usage. That advisory is in effect until further notice. The Public Works Department says they will make a public announcement when the boiled water advisory has been lifted for those areas. Federal officials have announced that an ear, nose, and throat doctor in Carroll with clinics in 8 other Iowa cities has agreed to pay $1 million to resolve allegations of Medicaid fraud. The doctor says the settlement is not an admission of wrongdoing. Radio Iowa's O.K. Henderson with more.
According to a news release from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Cedar Rapids, Dr. Tracy Wellendorf was accused of performing sinus surgeries that did not meet Medicaid's medically necessary standards or were incorrectly coded on bills submitted to Medicaid. Officials indicate the doctor's $1 million payment to the government relates to as many as 115 procedures performed from the fall of 2014 through the fall of 2015. Dr. Wellendorf released a written statement saying reasonable people can disagree about the best medical treatment options, and neither he nor the clinic are admitting doing anything wrong. Wellendorf said there were no adverse patient outcomes, and he's happy and relieved to have what he described as an expensive, time-consuming, and distracting matter resolved. A special agent in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says Dr. Wellendorf has agreed to 3 years of intensive quarterly monitoring by an independent review organization. Radio Iowa, I'm O.K. Henderson.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. High temperatures reach up to 50 this afternoon under overcast skies, winds out of the northwest 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows around 34, tonight partly cloudy. Bright sunshine expected tomorrow, highs level off around 62. Upper 60s, Friday, cooler on Saturday with highs in the mid 60s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 45.
Have the talk of the lifetime with the ones you love.
This cut asks, what events in our nation's history had an impact on you and how?
Pearl Harbor was on my 10th birthday, December 7th, 1941. That was the start of World War II. I was doing the farm chores with my brother, and the vet came to check our cows and told us all about it. It was a scary time.
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life lived. Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
Connect
to this radio station from all across the country. Take us to the gym, shopping. How about a road trip? Listen to us now on the free iHeartRadio app. You'll never miss a moment with your favorite radio station. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search for this station so we can go wherever you want us to.
What's the worst job you can think of? Cleaning septic tanks with a toothbrush? Spit polishing thermometers at the vet's office? Taste testing old milk?
Ugh, does this taste funny to you? If you think your job is about as bad as one of those, it's definitely time for a change. I'm Chris Ball, Director of Sales at Alpha Media. We have immediate openings in our sales department. Experience is great, but we'll train people with the right attitude. If you're looking for an awesome new career, call me at 955-5656 to schedule an interview today.
Alpha Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Yes, it is. We have Webster County Supervisor Keith Dinklaw here and Angie Vinson, the auditor, of course. Not the auditor. All right.
I knew you'd catch it.
All right.
The
assessor. assessor. How did I get those two confused?
I don't know.
I know.
We'll start with A,
he's
right?
getting old.
He's
getting
old.
He's getting old. His brain's going.
Oh, you're getting younger, I tell. Veterans Day program, by the way, is Friday, November 8th at Fort Dodge Senior High School. Veterans and their families, of course, are invited. From 1 to 1:30, they will be serving free chili and cinnamon rolls. We would like free chili and cinnamon rolls,
don't we? Free is good.
That's for
nothing wrong with free.
That's for veterans and their families. At 1:30, they will start a program which will end at approximately 2:30. Parking will be reserved by the auxiliary gym for our veterans. That is Friday, November 8th at Fort Dodge Senior High School, which is a nice thing.
Get out and support the vets.
Get out and support the vets? Yes. Absolutely. Okay, so are you Secretary of State now, or what are you over there, Angie?
I am the assessor.
The assessor. Okay, assess me. What's happening with in the assessor's office?
Well, we got a lot of stuff going on. First, we're going to address those notices that went out in the mail last week.
How many did you send out?
We sent out about 16,000.
Oh.
Yeah. So what this is a lot of residential properties received a 10% increase. This has nothing to do with what Vanguard's is doing. That is a total separate.
So we're going to get another bump from those guys.
And we don't know what they're going to do. They could go up, they could go down. But what this is,
it'll go down. You bet.
No, it could.
Did you two come in here and start pulling my leg like that? Yeah, we reassessed your property with the idea of lowering.
Mike, let her talk.
All right, I'm sorry.
It could.
Come on.
But this was strictly equalization. And I want to explain what equalization is.
All right.
Every odd year, our office, along with the Department of Revenue, monitors sales. All sales in Webster County. We are supposed to be at 100% market value.
Okay.
We can be 5% low or 5% high, so we can be between 95 and 105. But if we're not, then we have to equalize the values. We have to bring them up to that 100%.
Who says you have to do that?
The Iowa Department of Revenue does.
Oh, them.
Yes.
Who are they?
The state.
Those people.
The state.
The state.
Oh, God, we hate them.
Yeah. So in the spring, our office looked at sales, the areas where sales were occurring, and we made adjustments. Believe it or not, some areas did go down.
Okay.
Some went up. We thought we had done enough to satisfy the state.
Where were these areas that the taxes went down? Otho or something?
Dayton went down. Dayton went down quite a bit.
Really? No kidding.
Yeah, and of course Fort Dodge, we don't assess Fort Dodge as one unit because obviously houses are not the same throughout the Fort Dodge. So we have, I believe, about 30 different what we call map areas.
Yeah.
So we're comparing like areas to like areas. It's not just a blanket of Fort Dodge. But we did make the changes. We felt we did enough. When we got the tentative orders in September, my heart did sink. I was really disappointed. They wanted to raise residential by 10%, and they wanted to raise multi-residential, which is your apartment buildings, your three-family conversions. 14%. Keith. 14%.
Whoa.
So we scheduled a hearing. My deputy and I went down to the Department of Revenue, met with the state, pled our case. We did get the 14% multi-residential order removed.
Oh, sure. You got that lowered for all the rich guys.
We did take care of that. I mean, my husband, he's like, well, at least you got the bigger percentage removed. I said, yeah, but it affected the least amount of people. So we were upset that they didn't remove the 10%, but there wasn't much else we could do.
And egg ground.
And egg ground did see a 27% decrease. And that is why Eggs.
So you're going to screw the poor guy once again. Got it.
No, went down.
Went down. Farmers went down.
Yeah,
That's what
because-
I'm talking about. What are you saying? Farmers are poor? This isn't the 1950s when farmers were poor. They're all multi-zillionaires now.
No, but
This is true.
agricultural ground has gone down a couple $1,000s an acre in the last 3 years.
Yeah, because egg property is the only property that does not have market value. They have what's called productivity value. And what the state does again is they take a 5-year average. They look at what that ground can yield. And in the last 5 years there has been a decrease, and so yeah, they did see a decrease.
Yeah,
So what have you done for the truck drivers? See, this whole thing with Keith is
Well, you
kind of
know.
tied into our Saturday morning breakfast group.
The truck drivers are not on my radar.
They're
But,
not.
but
No, there's
I
always
want-
accusations of rich farmers and rich truckers, and
The rich
everybody
get richer,
apparently
the poor
is
gets
rich.
Poor. Yeah, yeah. But I want you to
Rich
know that.
accountants. It's all.
See, he's rambling again.
Yes, I am.
But it was strictly equalization. It was not Mayor Matt Bemrick or the City Council. It was not Keith here or the Webster County Supervisors.
That doggone Campbell, wasn't it?
Well, maybe.
Huh?
but we did not want this. We tried to
Oh,
fight
that's
it,
what-
and
Bo did it.
So there's a process now. They can.
there is a process. They do have the right to protest. If they have a current sale of their home that shows less than what that 10% did, if they have a current appraisal on their home, they can also go to our website, webstercountyia.org. They can download that protest form. They can also look for comparable sales to their home to show that maybe their home didn't need that 10%.
Well,
So
what was the justification the state used in the first place for this kind of all over the place 10% increase?
Well, like I said, we made some adjustments in the spring, but they felt we did not adjust high enough. And so
And what was their reasoning for believing that we didn't adjust high enough?
Sales that actually happened.
Yeah, they looked at the sales and
The sales.
Yep,
Yeah.
the sales. They were not at that. We were 10% low on our sales. But we told them, we adjusted areas where sales were occurring, but unfortunately we just didn't, in their opinion, raise enough.
Yeah, so that really has to vary where sales are happening.
Yeah, because there's some
parts
areas that have none.
Oh,
some might have
absolutely.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not comparing Knollcrest with Candy Brown either.
Absolutely. I mean, we're comparing, like Knollcrest is, a lot of split foyers and probably 1960s, 1970 homes. And,
Oh, yeah.
And like, over on the south side, you've got your small ranches, maybe 1950s, 800 square feet. So we're not comparing. We're just comparing those areas.
Well, then you have 8th Street over here between Central and Corpus Christi, and that's a dive, for God's sake.
And, we have, like I said, I wish I would have brought
Well,
it with me.
that's
But
just your opinion.
No, it's a fact.
somebody might live over there think they're in paradise.
Well, they're probably on drugs then. In fact, more than likely they're on
More
drugs.
than likely.
More than likely.
Oh,
By the way, let's
That's
go over
just
here.
Mike's opinion.
Let's go over here to 4th Avenue and 9th Street here, just north of the building here, and let's
Take our
reassess
chances?
some of
Take
those.
our
Yeah,
chances?
Take your chances. Yeah.
Mike's opinion does
Mike's
not
opinion.
represent all.
Oh,
It's just-
really?
Does not represent this radio station or the Webster County Supervisor.
That's right. Okay. All right. Okay.
But yeah, they do have that right. They have until October 31st to fill out that protest form and get it back to us. So
And then they have to come in and you meet with how many people? There's
we meet with a local. It's called Board of Review. It's 5 independent members. They are not associated with the assessor's
Board
office.
of Review.
Board of Review.
Are these local people?
They are. Matter of fact, it's Jim Kesterson, Pauline Ball.
Jimmy
Mike-
Kesterson?
Jimmy's
Kesterson,
on it.
yeah.
Pauline Ball, Mike Mulroney, and Marissa Crimmins. So they, like I said, they're independent from our office. They form their opinion based on what information the taxpayer brings in, and
So what is the Board of Review's job again? Because I want to know. I'm amazed Kesterson is doing some work.
well, normally they just meet in the spring because every April you have the right to protest your value. So normally they meet in the spring.
I see.
But now since we got this special equalization order, they're back in session for October, 10th through the November 15th.
There's a lot of, by God, fun heaters in this town. But Jimmy Kesterson ain't one of them.
and you sent out 16,000 letters, and how many people?
We sent out 16,000, and as of today, I think we have about 30 returned. So that asked for a hearing.
16,000?
16,000 parcels were affected.
And 30 people are requesting
30 people
a review.
Right.
Okay.
Are requesting review to protest it. So the percentage is pretty low.
Percentages, yeah.
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 Like my house, my apartments that I have, what you assessed them for, I wouldn't sell them for that. You know, that was a fair assessment, I thought.
And I know people are thinking, we just got this in 17, you did this in the spring, but our values have not been raised in 20 years. And so now we're kind of playing.
So that's a bad thing to you?
That's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing for everybody.
It's a bad thing for everybody.
Why is it a bad thing for people who hate to be taxed, which is everybody?
Well, I mean, I know nobody likes to be taxed, but, your home is your greatest asset.
Yeah.
And
Isn't it great that it's going up in value and it's worth more?
I
mean, you wouldn't want your home to go down in value, would you?
Well, that's
over
warped
20 years.
reasoning, I think.
Yeah. It's great that my house is worth $10,000 more than it was 5 years ago, or $3,000 more.
What, are you going to sell it or something? I mean,
well, someday it's going to get sold, and you hope it goes up in value because that's a lot of people. That's the only investment they have is their home.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, we're trying to play catch up now, unfortunately, but I've had people call me and they thought that this was because of what Vanguard did, and they're like, I want it more. How do I get it more? So there's those people too.
They want their house assessed at a higher rate.
More. Yes.
What would be the advantage to
they're probably
that?
going to sell it, and they want a better value.
Yeah, equity.
But
or
nobody,
they're gonna sell it, or...
you sold real estate. Nobody cares about the assessed value.
Yeah, they do. They look at the realtors look at the assessed value, and the
and
appraisers
the
look at
realtors
the assessed
try
value,
to sell it.
Yeah, they try to sell it for the assessed value or more, and most of the property does sell for the assessed value or more.
You think so?
Yes, I would say.
Not in my neighborhood. It's not going to.
Well, neighborhoods change, and that's why you do this review. Neighborhoods change, and maybe your house was worth $50,000 5 years ago, and the neighborhood's changed and went down, and maybe it's only worth $30,000 now. Well, then you want the person to do the review and be able to say when take it down.
Right.
We got to change my neighborhood then, get out some bulldozers and that sort of stuff. But that's a city issue, not a county issue, I guess.
Yes, that's. It's over our heads.
It's not something.
Over our pay grade.
Over our pay grades. I have enough issues in the county. We don't need to go into the city.
You don't. Okay. So, so this is a state thing, as you've said.
It is state mandated. Yep.
State mandated. All right. Is there anything else happening over at the auditor's office?
In the assessor's office, we also started our commercial reappraisal.
Commercial reappraisal.
Commercial. Vanguard's came Monday, and they're starting that. They're starting in the southeast section of Fort Dodge, and so they've started that. So
they'll be into every commercial property in the next couple of months.
Every commercial, industrial, and multi-residential property in Webster County. So,
really? I'm sure the businesses will be glad to see them coming.
And it's been quite a while since we've done that. I think the last time was back in 2000. So it's definitely overdue.
It's been that long?
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, that does.
It's due.
I suppose a lot of business owners are just begging for their assessment to be raised.
Well, the assessments might go up, and we might get more revenue, and we won't have to levy as much. So maybe your taxes won't go up.
Again, you get that tax base up, and
then the levies maybe will stay the same, or they'll go down.
This is AM 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yeah, I had a question for the county assessor and for our supervisor regarding the tax increase and the reassessment.
Go right ahead.
So the 10% overall reassessment that the state imposed, that was after the county had done their assessment. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So they weren't satisfied with our tax-funded reassessment. They went in and put their own 10% on top of that.
They did. Yep.
Okay. Well, my assessment increased by nearly 27%.
27%?
Exactly.
Wow. Who moved in next to you?
So you need to come in.
Well,
and...
Mike, I tell you what, from your statement earlier, my property is in the city of Otho.
Oh, you're in Otho.
Yeah.
And they jacked you 27%? That's highway robbery.
27%.
Well, I would come in and protest that and see if you can get it lowered. I mean, bring some stuff in and try to get it lowered if you don't think it's fair. I mean, you have every right to do that.
Yep, and I know that Otho was one that went up 10% in-house, and then, they did get another 10% on top of that. So I would strongly encourage you to come to the board and fill out your form.
That's right. Come in and say, hey, I live at Otho. So what's what is this 27% increase? That's bad no matter where you are.
That's bad no matter where you are. And then you take on top of that, if our supervisors and other officials begin to oppose general obligation bonds on the entire county to pay for improvements, which I support, that increases our tax burden as well.
We understand that. We're trying to keep it, under control. But there's some things that you have to do. We have to fix the roof at the courthouse.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, that's been neglected for 50 years, and we have to fix that.
Believe me, I'm not disagreeing or arguing about the improvements, but I'm saying that when residents in your county start to see increases in property tax valuations like we see, we got to make sure that the value of the taxes we're imposing above and beyond that provide that value.
We understand that. And
okay, I'm sure you do.
And we're trying to achieve that just like you are. My taxes, I pay taxes like you do too, so I don't like paying taxes either.
Nobody likes taxes.
So one last question, and then we'll get right back to the program. The Messenger article said that we could get online and get the forms that we needed to protest this increase if we wanted to appeal it.
That
is correct?
Yep.
Okay, when I look at that form, it doesn't have the dates that coincide with the information I'm getting from the assessor's office. Can we still use that form?
We will accept that form, but the special session form is on the main page of the Webster County website, down at the bottom. But we will accept the other form as well.
You will.
We're not going to turn anybody back.
That has the wrong date. The submission date the form I looked at had a submission date sometime in the spring.
Yep, that is the regular petition form. The special session one, like I said, is on the main page.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's good call. Thank you very much. Yeah, AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. You want to get back to the program? Heck, use the program.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to answer questions. And,
Absolutely.
We don't know all. We don't know what the.
They can feel free to call our office on
Yes.
576-4721. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions or explain why.
Well, yes, Ford. Here we go.
Well, that's good.
AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Good afternoon. You're on the air with the assessor and Supervisor Dinklow.
Hi, I know you're running out of time, but I
got as much time as I want. I control the world from in here.
I remember the last time we went through this, I called and asked about the homestead exemption and why that was such a menial increase. I was hoping you would talk to the public about how that needs to be changed.
Is this candy
what
cane?
to do to get that changed.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll just shut up here. Do you want to answer that question?
Well, the homestead, again, comes down from the Department of Revenue, so we have no control over that as well. It's, if you own your home and you live in your home, it's a flat fee, and
we have no control over that.
Yeah.
So you need to talk to the legislature
or Department of Revenue and see if you can get that changed.
She dropped off. That lady is Candy Cane, and that's not a real name. But she is the very first caller I ever had on this program 11 years ago.
Cool.
Very first.
Well, that's good. And she's still listening.
Yeah, and she's still listening, and she still gets pretty mad at me.
Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate the calls.
I like her.
Yeah, we appreciate the calls.
She still gets pretty mad at me. I've always liked Daryl Beal as a person.
Yeah.
I think he's a fine man. I do. I think he's a terrific guy, and I hope he's in great health. But I said something about him on the air one day, and she called. Man, she was a Daryl Beal fan. She didn't like that.
Daryl's a nice guy. Daryl did a good job when he was at the State House.
Yeah, he did.
Yes,
he did.
Absolutely.
And he did a lot of good things.
Yes, he did.
He's lived a life of service. I really do believe that. I do believe that. So anyway, if you have a question for the county assessor or Supervisor Dinklaw, 515-955-1400. Again, I can keep going, but if nobody calls,
they're done. We're done.
Yeah, right. If you're done,
we appreciate you having us here, Mike. We appreciate it.
No, it's always a great pleasure.
It's a good venue to get our stuff out because people,
absolutely, we want to make them aware.
There is 2 people listening.
See, I'm glad you're getting more comfortable with me. I'm just a wise guy.
Well, I said the first time I was pretty nervous.
She was pretty nervous. I goes, you'll get along fine. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
But I don't have any real malice. I'm just a smart Alec.
Well, you just want to know the facts. Nothing wrong with that.
Just get the facts.
He's on the smart, just an Alec.
Yeah. 515-955-1400. I'm going to have to cut them loose.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Catch you later.
Well, I guess that does it. Then.
Yep.
All right. This is AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine.
You're very clever, my charming little friend.
With more stimulating talk radio.
But not clever enough.
It's 429. News is next.
Staples is more than a place you go to buy a printer.
It's where an associate explained the difference between an inkjet, a laserjet, and a super tank printer in a way I could understand. Where I found a huge selection of printers at great prices, so I didn't have to run store to store. And it's where I can easily find the ink, toner, and paper I need priced low every day.
Staples is your one-stop shop for all your printing needs. And right now, save up to $200 on select printers. Staples, for your business printing and beyond. Ends 11/2/19 while supplies last. Exclusions apply.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD News Update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge Police Chief Roger Porter was a guest on Divine Intervention with Mike Devine on KVFD AM 1400. Due to the recent increase in crime around Fort Dodge, Chief Porter says that the city is looking into possible options of more cameras to help reduce crime.
Cameras, and that's been a very hot topic here within the last couple of weeks. I think it's just finding the right way to get that out there. I've been inundated with ideas on different things that we could do from City Council right now, and we're looking at different avenues to try to figure out what we can do. Looking at potentially down the road trying to get some stuff out there that the city can invest in to partner with and put some cameras up around.
The City of Fort Dodge Public Works Department has announced that there has been a water main break that has resulted in low pressure, and as a result, a boiled water advisory has been issued for North 7th Street, north of Loomis Park, near the entrance of the city limits, as well as Miller Drive and 28th Avenue North. As a precautionary measure, people living in only those areas are advised to boil their water before usage. That advisory is in effect until further notice. The Public Works Department says they will make a public announcement when the boiled water advisory has been lifted for those areas. There will be a closure of eastbound traffic on 2nd Avenue North near the MLK intersection, and southbound traffic on MLK will be closed from 2.5 Avenue North to 2nd Avenue North. Crews are repairing a water main in that area, according to the City of Fort Dodge Public Works Department. Those closures will be effective immediately and will remain in effect until the work is complete. Detours will be posted. Motorists are urged to use caution and reduce speeds in the area and to use an alternate route if possible. Federal officials have announced that an ear, nose, and throat doctor in Carroll with clinics in 8 other Iowa cities has agreed to pay $1 million to resolve allegations of Medicaid fraud. The doctor says the settlement is not an admission of wrongdoing. Radio Iowa's O.K. Henderson with more.
According to a news release from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Cedar Rapids, Dr. Tracy Wellendorf was accused of performing sinus surgeries that did not meet Medicaid's medically necessary standards or were incorrectly coded on bills submitted to Medicaid. Officials indicate the doctor's $1 million payment to the government relates to as many as 115 procedures performed from the fall of 2014 through the fall of 2015. Dr. Wellendorf released a written statement saying reasonable people can disagree about the best medical treatment options, and neither he nor the clinic are admitting doing anything wrong. Wellendorf said there were no adverse patient outcomes, and he's happy and relieved to have what he described as an expensive, time-consuming, and distracting matter resolved. A special agent in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says Dr. Wellendorf has agreed to 3 years of intensive quarterly monitoring by an independent review organization. Radio Iowa, I'm O.K. Henderson.
For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. High temperatures reach up to 50 this afternoon under overcast skies. Winds out of the northwest, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows around 34. Tonight, partly cloudy. Bright sunshine expected. Tomorrow, highs level off around 62. Upper 60s. Friday, cooler on Saturday with highs in the mid-60s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 45.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. December corn down 1.5 at $3.91 3/4. March down 3/4 at $4.03 1/2. May corn down 3/4 at $4.09 3/4. July down 1/2 penny at $4.14 3/4. November soybeans down 6 cents at $9.28. January down 6 1/4 at $9.43 1/4. March down 4 3/4 at $9.54 1/2. And May beans down 3 3/4 at $9.63 1/4. December wheat up 6 1/4 at $5.13 1/4. Soybean meal down $3 a ton at $3.0480. October live cattle up $1.35 at $1.1235. December up 42 at $1.1387. October feeders up 22 at $1.4522. November down 15 cents at $1.4592. December lean hogs down $1.50 at $70.62. February down 30 at $78.85. I'm Dwayne Murley.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. It's 4:35, 25 minutes before 5 o'clock. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. John O'Hearn has died at the age of 63. John P. O'Hearn has passed away at 63. There will be a celebration of the life of John P. O'Hearn, and that'll be Saturday here in town. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The major averages closing lower after U.S. retail sales fell for the first time in 7 months in September, offsetting a good start to the third quarter corporate earnings reporting season. And shares of General Motors rising over 1% today after the automaker and the United Auto Workers reached a tentative deal to end a month-long strike. The Dow falling 23 points, the Nasdaq down 25, S&P 500 down 6. And shares of Netflix are higher in the extended session after the company reported better than expected earnings results for the third quarter, with the streaming service adding more than twice as many subscribers for the period than it did in the previous quarter. And IBM reporting earnings after the closing bell, with the stock falling. This after the tech giant reported that revenue fell for the fifth quarter in a row, even with contributions from Red Hat, an acquisition that closed in the third quarter. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
Prescription products require an online physician consultation and are only available if the physician determines a prescription is appropriate. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Hey guys, good news. The outrageously expensive little blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it extra affordable. And right now, get your first online visit totally free when you go to forhims.com/joy. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, forhims.com/joy. forhims.com/joy.
Okay, you know how it feels when you've saved enough for that long-awaited home edition? Now imagine an addition on that addition. Whoa. That's the feeling with Capital One, where a new savings account earns an interest rate 5 times the national average. That's right, 5 times, as represented by 5 times more singers. This is banking reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Rate comparison based on FDIC national rate. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
From gooey grilled cheese sandwiches on Dakota-style 12-grain to peanut butter and jelly on Kids' Choice soft white bread. Kids of all ages want simple, comforting food that remind them of mom's home cooking. Country Hearth was born from that nostalgia and commitment to simplicity. Baked locally using natural ingredients like whole grains and honey, our breads are delivered fresh daily to grocery stores throughout the Midwest. Country Hearth Breads, baking our best for you.
Fall is in the air and the general store is ready. Stop into the general store today and see their full line of fall clothing, including hoodies, sweaters, coats, jackets, jeans, and more. And don't forget shoes and boots. You'll find the latest fall fashions for the whole family at the general store. They can hook you up for Halloween, too, with tons of costume ideas and Halloween decor. And remember, everything at the General Store is always tax-free, and all proceeds go towards helping people in our community. The General Store, 12 North 25th, Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Well, I need to be reminded every now and then why things don't go well for me, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I think we're getting a little farm work done this week, and that's a good thing. For God's sake, give more power to the people after all. For God's sake, give more power to the people.
There's some people up there hogging everything. Telling lies, giving out of bands about the people's money and things. And if they're gonna throw it away, might as well be some to me. Yeah, they've seen and heard of, but never had misery. There are some people who are starving to death. Never knew but only heard of, and they never had happiness.
Oh, if you don't have enough to eat.
How can you think of love?
If you don't have enough to eat, how can you think of love? The Democratic Party wants us to love. But if you don't have enough to eat, you have inadequate shelter, you're poor, and poverty is spreading throughout our city, our county, our state, and yes, the United States of America, how can you think of love? How can you think of love, and how can you think of anything but that? You know, Bill Horan, my friend who I haven't seen in a long time, but someone I like and admire, and wherever he is and whatever he's doing now, I hope he's doing well. I understand he's retired. Bill told me something I can never forget. He said that hungry people will do desperate things. Hungry people will do desperate things. But people who are watching their children starve to death will do anything. And man, that hit me hard. Obviously, it hit me hard. He told me that 10 years ago, I suppose. And it's a crucial thing to remember. All the nonsense last night at the Democratic Party debate. You know, and every time they have a Democratic Party debate, Donald Trump is the winner. Donald Trump is the winner. Anybody thinks William Weld is going to make a serious run at Donald Trump is delusional. And I for the life of me do not get Trump derangement syndrome. It's a real thing. I have known people my entire life who are decent people, people of faith, people who are well educated, people who have led dignified and responsible lives, and since Donald Trump has been president, they have gone completely crazy. They have lost their dignity. They have lost any semblance of reason. They believe it is their responsibility to scream from the mountaintop that this is somehow a normal endeavor to see somebody who might be wearing a MAGA hat and really verbally attack them in the street. I mean, these are people that wouldn't have thought of doing this just a few years ago, and now they're justified. This is mass psychosis. Donald Trump is an unusual person, and frankly, he's a very obnoxious person at times. But the reaction to Donald Trump is way over the top. Way over the top. Veterans Helping Others, Twin Rivers Habitat for Humanity at 118 North 12th Street here in town. They need your donation. They need help with donation pickups, salvage houses prior to demolition, volunteers at the Restore. Call Marcia or stop in at the Restore, 515-576-4316 to find out how you can help. I guess, they need people to help pick up things so they can sell it at the Restore. I think that's the message I'm getting here. So, again, call Marcia or stop in at the Restore, and that's at 118 North 12th. They got a lot of interesting things in there. And the phone number is 515-576-4316. That's 515-576-4316. And don't forget the Veterans Day program. That's coming up Friday, November 8th at Fort Dodge Senior High School. Veterans and their families from 1 to 1:30. The folks will be serving free chili and cinnamon rolls for veterans and their families. At 1:30, they will have a program which will end at approximately 2:30. Veterans will be reserved by the auxiliary gym for our veterans. That's parking, I should say. Parking will be reserved by the auxiliary gym for the veterans. All veterans are encouraged to wear their uniform. I got out of the service, I was about 180 pounds, and I'm not 180 pounds now. As a matter of fact, when I got out of high school, I was 6 feet. 6 feet and 165, right in there somewhere. Well, I grew a couple more inches in boot camp, actually, and steadily gained weight over the years. So let's just say that I no longer weigh 180, and I can't fit into my uniform anymore. Somebody is finally going to hold the Des Moines Register to account for what I consider their lack of professionalism and even crass behavior in their reporting. The director of RAGBRAI has resigned, along with staffers of the ride, over the silly story the Register felt compelled to report on Carson King. The former RAGBRAI director is T.J. Boy, this is a serious name here. I think it's a Polish name, and I can't quite pronounce it. It may be Polish, it may not be. I don't know. T.J. Juskiewicz. It's Juskiewicz, and he wrote a letter to the RAGBRAI Nation, and this is what he said. This is a bittersweet day for me and my team. Today, your RAGBRAI director for the past 16 years, and the entire RAGBRAI staff has resigned. RAGBRAI's parent companies, that would be the Des Moines Register and Gannett USA, claim we will uphold First Amendment principles, but they refuse to offer me that same opportunity to openly speak to the RAGBRAI Nation and answer the hundreds of passionate questions about the future of RAGBRAI following the Des Moines Register's handling of the Carson King story. You remember the Carson King story. Young guy, Iowa State graduate, showed up on ESPN game day at Cyclone Stadium, or Jack Trice Stadium, and was holding a sign that he needed his he was out of beer, and he wanted people to send money to his Venmo account for the beer. Well, it just took off. It went viral and just went crazy, and pretty soon thousands of dollars were pouring into his account. Now, almost immediately, he said that he would donate this money to the Children's Hospital in Iowa City. A warm, feel-good story if there ever was one. The Des Moines Register had to trash it because they have no time for sentiment in the state of Iowa. You know, that's so small town. Sentiment and love and Christian generosity. And I have no idea if Carson King's a Christian, but I have a feeling he was probably influenced by the faith. Well, we cannot have that in Des Moines Register land. So the Register assigns a young reporter to investigate Carson King, to give us a more complete picture of who he is, of course. Well, what do you need to know about a 20-something guy who works in security at Prairie Meadows and is donating thousands of dollars to the Children's Hospital? By the way, it's $3 million and counting now. Show me something the Des Moines Register ever did that was as good as that. $3 million to the Children's Hospital. Well, apparently, when Carson King was 16 years old, he and I've seen the posts, and they really look like something some wise guy 16-year-old would say. And the Des Moines Register, in their usual posture, unforgiving, cancel culture posture. Yes, we're going to hold you to strict scrutiny because nobody's that good, and we're going to hold up your imperfection to the people of Iowa and say, here, people of Iowa, this is a good kid, but he's not that good. We're the Des Moines Register. We're your moral judge. We're the upholders of a secular moral standard that's harsh and cruel. And that's what it was. So, what is it, Carol Hunter comes forward with some smug non-apology, but an explanation for the hillbillies. It blew up. The story blew up. And there were a lot of protests to the Des Moines Register. Now, you couldn't tell it from their letter to the editor's section. They must have gotten hundreds of emails. maybe thousands of emails protesting their callous treatment of Carson King in the name of full disclosure. Oh, come on, man. There was something else behind that. And Carol Hunter, an editor at the paper, showed us what it was. Arrogance. A smug arrogance. A smug liberal arrogance that always wants to tell you, you're not very good. You're not very good. You're not very good. You should listen to your betters, and some of your betters work at the Des Moines Register. You know, they're writers, English majors. They're fully qualified to be a moral authority in our lives. I cannot believe these people. Anyway, the director of RAGBRAI, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to massacre his name, but I cannot, and maybe it's not a man. I don't know. It's TJ, the initials. But I can't pronounce the correct. I can't pronounce that name correctly. But he and the entire staff have resigned, and they intend to have a bike ride of their own. It won't be the Register's great bike ride across Iowa. There is a hashtag out there that's called Stand with Carson. Stand with Carson. And I think we should stand with Carson. I mean, let's not forget the Des Moines Register has been on a real tear. First of all, they portray an 11-year-old boy who was trying to get a hog onto a trailer, and the kid needed adult supervision. Greg Hora came in here and said, well, the hog can't step up into a trailer like that. I mean, there was a step up. An 8-inch, 10-inch, 12-inch, I don't know. There was a 10-inch step up, and the hog wasn't going to get there. And he kept backing away from the trailer, trying to get away, and the young man was, the 11-year-old boy, was using a whip to move him into the trailer. And yeah, some welts appeared on the hog's face. Well, an animal rights activist, and this guy's a real beauty, in his 40s who'd been drinking beer, went off about this whole thing and demanded something be done. Well, something was done. He was kicked out of the fair for life and good riddance. That's the correct thing to do. The Register took the animal rights activists' side. And some of the Register writers were saying, well, no matter what happens, we're glad we're talking about meat consumption. Should we be eating meat? I mean, this is in Iowa, where hogs outnumber people 10-1. So the Register was assuming a vegan posture and using a little boy as the villain in a crude story about so-called animal abuse. The kid wasn't familiar enough with loading hogs to know exactly what he was doing. Again, he should have had some adult supervision. He'll know better next time. But this slovenly-looking animal rights activist, is this somebody, and look him up if you want to, is this somebody the Des Moines Register should be making a hero out of? And by extension, condemning a little boy. So along comes Carson King, another young man. Hi there, I want some money in my Venmo account so I can buy more beer. Well, yeah, and to show how noble this young man is, again, he donated it all to the Children's Hospital in Iowa City. By the way, there's a hashtag out there, boycott the Des Moines Register and boycott RAGBRAI. And by the way, I was a Des Moines Tribune newspaper carrier. And my family, when I was a kid, got the Register and the Tribune. I come from a time when people read, when they got their information from print media. Those days are long gone. And that's unfortunate. But I understand if people want to take this action. And again, the real problem was Carol Hunter, an editor at the Register, and her smug defense of the paper's handling of Carson King. And of course, the kicker is, the young man assigned to do investigative work on Carson King, because we can't feel good about anybody, found out that Carson King had made these idiot posts when he was 16 years old. Of course, the Des Moines Register is our moral judge. And even though this was a 16-year-old kid that did this, it must be reported. He must be held up to some degree of scorn so that we all understand that we're just not that good. Who's really good is a reporter of the facts. The Des Moines Register, that's their job, and thank God they're out there reporting these sorts of facts against a background of a truly noble human beings. Wonderful gesture. Wonderful gesture. Nobody at the Des Moines Register will ever do anything as decent or make the impact that Carson King has had in his young life. So, of course, the young man that was assigned the story and dug up the information, well, some people looked into his background, and lo and behold, this young man had also done some things like that. Made some insensitive racial remarks. I hate that term, insensitive racial remarks. It makes people of color or anybody seem too sensitive to live in the world, or so easily triggered that they'll go off and attack anybody at any time. So we better watch it. So the Des Moines Register turns on its own employee and fires the guy. And I was beginning to wonder if anybody would really take a stand against this bullying newspaper, because they really do see themselves as some sort of moral beacon in the state of Iowa. AM 1400 KVFD, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Well, just a couple facts about that Des Moines Register. He did keep enough money to buy a 30-pack Busch Light. So, I mean, I hate to have you be wrong, but, it's the middle of the week, and I just want to make sure you're right on that. And out of $3 million, it probably cost him like $15. So there you have it. Second thing, that guy at the fair that turned them in and all that, he was arrested, I believe, a week or 10 days later.
About a month, yeah.
For being disruptive in a bar.
Yeah, he was, and making unwanted advances to young women.
Correct.
Yeah, he real piece of work. The Register wanted to make him a hero and an 11-year-old boy some kind of villain.
But the thing about the Register and with those people at Ragbri, they were putting a gag order because they donated $50,000 towards the hospital and was told not to talk about it, which I don't know what the Des Moines Register and free speech, and I just don't understand how you can correlate those two in your paper.
Well, first of all, they have free speech, of course, but they have no moral sense. They have no moral reasoning. They have none. They have. What happened here?
They put a gag order on those Ragbri people.
Yes, of course. And in the entire staff. And again, the director's been with them 16 years. They resigned. And the Des Moines Register will still host Ragbri, but I hope it goes nowhere. And I hope this other group is the one who puts on the ride across.
One other point, though, is that kid actually did not type up anything in Facebook or wherever. All he did was copy something off the TV and send it. So it wasn't he wasn't the author of that.
Well, he passed it on or whatever. You're right. He wasn't the author of it. It was so trivial and insignificant, and that's why we're on the air. That's why the Register is losing subscribers. And I'm thinking of canceling my subscription. It's taken me a while, but maybe I haven't had the courage that the Ragbri director has. But I'm thinking of getting rid of that paper. It has fallen into decline. I don't think it has the quality it once did. I think the writers are very poor. I never thought much of Rekha Basu. Of course, she's a liberal opinion a writer, and that's not my way. But she's always been dull. I mean,
somebody that might be fun to have on is that Chuck Offenberg. He lives down in like Cooper.
yeah, he does live over there. I've had Chuck on years ago.
Yeah, I know he's from Shenandoah, or actually Coyne, Iowa, but that's another story.
Yeah. Hey, I want to thank you for your call and thank you for listening.
All right, take care.
All right. Yeah, that's. I'll let you. Maybe you're not interested, but if I decide to cancel my subscription to the Morning Register, I'll tell you. Is this sometimes you have to take a stand. So you just do. And frankly, again, this is not the Pulitzer Prize winning paper that it was. It's been a long, long time since the Des Moines Register served the state. They're really a paper owned by a San Francisco-based company, and this is the type of so-called state paper that we have now. You know why newspapers are dying? Because of this nonsense, or they do nothing at all. They do nothing at all. They're afraid of offending advertisers. 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you for listening. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge.
This is Dave Graveline. Be sure to listen to Into Tomorrow right here on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Syria, sit down. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. A bipartisan meeting at the White House hours after the House voted overwhelmingly to condemn President Trump's decision to pull all U.S. forces out of Syria, where one Democrat said the president has created a crisis in the Middle East and in the world's confidence in America. Fox's Gernal Scott has more live.
Lisa, the president says America won't engage in an endless war in Syria. But at that meeting, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she asked about the path forward to fight ISIS. She described the president's reaction.
He just couldn't handle it, so he kind of engaged in a meltdown.
She and other Democrats left, something House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy criticized.
I've been in a lot of meetings where individuals get heated with one another. I do not believe in that process that you get up and you walk away.
He called the meeting after the speaker left productive. Pelosi says leaders don't have all the facts, and she's deeply concerned, Lisa.
Gernal, earlier today, President Trump said Turkey's move into Syria is between those two countries and not the U.S., as Vice President Mike Pence and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo are heading to Turkey to meet with that country's president.
The senior U.S. defense officials tell me that what we're witnessing right now is a deliberate, phased withdrawal of U.S. troops out of Syria. They will be repositioned elsewhere in the Middle East. The U.S. military is collapsing patrol bases in northern Syria and will pull back to one base in northeast Syria from which they will be airlifted out. It is an extremely dangerous evacuation that is underway, according to military commanders.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon. Early warning alerts for earthquakes in California will become available to the public starting tomorrow. That's according to the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services. Wall Street at the close. The Dow down 22, the NASDAQ off 24, the S&P lost 5 points. America is listening to Fox News.
When you fire up a John Deere 1 Series tractor, you can tackle the job without wrestling the attachments. Hook up everything from a front loader to a drive-over mower deck in no time. So you can haul gravel, cut grass, or do any job in between. Because when things just click, work just gets done. And now get a 1 Series for just $99 a month at your nearest participating John Deere dealer. Nothing runs like a Deere. Run with us. Search John Deere 1 Series for more. 0% annual percentage rate. For additional cost information, please call toll-free 855-633-2315.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
With your KVFD news update, I'm Rob Jones. Fort Dodge Police Chief Roger Porter was a guest on Divine Intervention with Mike Devine on KVFD AM 1400. Due to the recent increase in crime around Fort Dodge, Chief Porter says that the city is looking into possible options of more cameras to help reduce crime.
Cameras, and that's been a very hot topic here within the last couple of weeks. I think it's just finding the right way to get that out there. I've been inundated with ideas on different things that we could do from City Council right now, and we're looking at different avenues to try to figure out what we can do. Looking at potentially down the road trying to get some stuff out there that the city can invest in to partner with and put some cameras up around.
The City of Fort Dodge Public Works Department has announced that there has been a water main break that has resulted in low pressure, and as a result, a boiled water advisory has been issued for North 7th Street, north of Loomis Park, near the entrance of the city limits, as well as Miller Drive and 28th Avenue North. As a precautionary measure, people living in only those areas are advised to boil their water before usage. That advisory is in effect until further notice. The Public Works Department says they will make a public announcement when the boiled water advisory has been lifted for those areas. There will be a closure of eastbound traffic on 2nd Avenue North near the MLK intersection, and southbound traffic on MLK will be closed from 2.5 Avenue North to 2nd Avenue North. Crews are repairing a water main in that area, according to the City of Fort Dodge Public Works Department. Those closures will be effective immediately and will remain in effect until the work is complete. Detours will be posted. Motorists are urged to use caution and reduce speeds in the area and to use an alternate route if possible. Federal officials have announced that an ear, nose, and throat doctor in Carroll with clinics in 8 other Iowa cities has agreed to pay $1 million to resolve allegations of Medicaid fraud. The doctor says the settlement is not an admission of wrongdoing. Radio Iowa's O.K. Henderson with more.
According to a news release from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Cedar Rapids, Dr. Tracy Wellendorf was accused of performing sinus surgeries that did not meet Medicaid's medically necessary standards or were incorrectly coded on bills submitted to Medicaid. Officials indicate the doctor's $1 million payment to the government relates to as many as 115 procedures performed from the fall of 2014 through the fall of 2015. Dr. Wellendorf released a written statement saying reasonable people can disagree about the best medical treatment options and neither
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studios, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. This is your show, America. Thank you for joining us. Open phones at 888-825-5225. That's 888-825-5225. Courtney's in Kentucky. Hi, Courtney. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hi.
Hi, what's up?
Well, I've got a question about vehicles.
Okay.
So we are in baby step 2, and we've tightened our budget, and we have 3 vehicles currently. We have an old van that is paid for, and then we have a truck and a car that both have a loan. And so my question is, should we sell the van or should we sell one of the vehicles we have a loan?
What do you owe on the vehicles?
We owe $12,000 and $8,500.
Okay. What's your household income?
About $85,000.
And how much other debt do you have?
We have $45,000 total.
Total, and 20 of it is cars?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the other 25?
We have some house repair loans and student loans and one credit card.
Okay. And how long have you been getting out of debt?
We just started this process, but we've looked at our snowball, and we feel like we can be debt-free in 15 months.
Okay. All right. And what's the van worth?
Probably about $2,000.
And why do you have it?
Well, we decided to keep it because at the time that we got the other vehicles, we didn't feel like we could get much out of it as a trade-in, and it still ran, and it was paid for, so we kept it.
Yeah, just a spare?
Well, it was like to go on vacations and things like that, because if we take people with us, family, when we go on vacations and things like that.
I see. Okay. Well, you'll be renting something when you go on vacations. I would not have a van sitting in the driveway in case I wanted to take someone else on vacation. That's not
that's why we're thinking about. That's why we're going to try to get rid of one of these vehicles.
Yeah, I would get rid of the van.
Jumpstart.
The van's the one that you don't want, don't need, and should have already sold, and so I just get rid of it. The rule of thumb we use on cars is this: when someone asks the question, "Should I sell my car to get out of debt?" Two things have to come up. One is the total of your vehicles needs to be less than half your annual income. Yours is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The second rule is, can I be debt-free, everything but my home, in 2 years if I keep these vehicles and I like the vehicles? And you can be 15 months, and I agree with your 15 months based on the numbers you gave me. That's pretty good numbers. Okay. So that'll be our plan. And what I would do is sell the van and work your 15 months, reduced by whatever you get for the van. That'll slow down. Might be 14 months now.
Okay. All right.
That makes sense to you?
Yep. I got it.
Perfect. Thanks for the call. We appreciate you joining us. Open phones at 888-825-5225. Connor is with us in Colorado. Hey, Connor. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hey, Dave, thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Certainly. How can I help?
So my grandmother is 78 years old. She came down to my house on Sunday, and we looked over her finances. She has $10,500 in credit card debt, $22,000 in a mortgage, and $50,000 in a HELOC. She has $12,000 in savings and $84,000 in
Start that again. I got lost. Start again.
Okay.
You have $10,000 in
I'm
what?
sorry. So she has $10,500 in credit cards, $22,000 in a mortgage on a condo, $50,000 in a HELOC.
Okay. Does she live in the condo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the HELOC's on the condo as well?
Yes, sir.
She's 78, and she has no money?
She has $12,000 in savings and $84,000 in 401ks. The condo is probably worth $270,000.
Okay. And what's her income?
So I know $2,400 a month. So that's Social Security and working as well.
Okay. And your question's what?
So I know with the baby steps, cash out the $12,000, pay off the $10,500 in credit cards. That leaves her $1,500. But I'm wondering, I know you say not to cash out retirement unless to avoid bankruptcy or foreclosure. But I'm wondering, at 78 years old, is it better to just clear up the mortgage and the HELOC, or one or the other?
I would love to clear them both up, but it would leave her with absolutely no money.
Right.
And I don't want to do that. So I will take the step of cleaning up the credit cards as long as she cuts them up and gets on a budget.
Of course.
They have to be chopped up. Never touch a freaking credit card again.
And I gave her your book probably about a year ago, and she hasn't used the credit cards in a year, but she's only been making the minimum. So that's why she came down, so we could kind of talk through this together. But I honestly didn't know with the 401ks and the HELOC and the mortgage.
Yeah, if there was $800,000 in there, I'd use it in a heartbeat because she's over retirement age and she's got no penalties. But I just don't want to use her last dime to clear up her debt on her condo. So what I'd do is get rid of the credit card debt. Let's live on a tight budget, and let's begin to push on some of these other things. At some point, she may want to look up and knock off the mortgage or the HELOC or combine them, or she may want to move into something smaller that she could pay cash for.
Okay.
If she moved into something if she's only got $70,000 in debt and it's worth $270,000, if she can move into something for $200,000, she'd be debt free, right?
Yep, I'm trying to get her to move down closer to us where it's cheaper, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a second step. Let's start with a budget, a real budget, tight, watching what she's doing, no credit cards at all, and cut the credit cards up, and let's rebuild her emergency fund out of her meager income. And let's just work on that and work on her discipline for a little while. And then probably in a year, I'm going to really start pushing her to sell this condo.
All right, thank you, sir.
She's probably going to get tired of fighting against this. And if she had I would just keep saying, what would it feel like to have no payments?
Yeah, and that's the thing is the HELOC. She tells me every time she looks at it, it just scares her, and she doesn't know what to do. And I said, well,
yes, she does. She can move to a smaller condo. She knows what to do.
Okay.
Yeah, and just keep saying that, and just go, well, I know it scares you, and I don't blame you. I'm kind of scared for you too. That's why I'm suggesting a smaller condo. You do what you want to do, Grandma, but when you get tired of the stress of the HELOC, you will move into a condo that you pay cash for. And that would work perfect, right? I mean, because that sets her up. She's only got $2,400 income. She's got $85,000 in her retirement at that point. She's got her emergency fund rebuilt with her own, the sweat of her brow right now, all of that. And, yeah, she's going to be in pretty good shape then. So that's the plan. Hey, man, thanks for the call. Thank you for helping your grandma. You're a good man. This is the Dave Ramsey Show. Business leaders, if you're not using LinkedIn Jobs, you are missing out. Our Ramsey Solutions Company page on LinkedIn has over 100,000 followers. That's over 100,000 potential like-minded people our team communicates our current openings to. We also post on LinkedIn Jobs because we know the right person will have an impact on our company for years to come, and LinkedIn Jobs matches the right person with the right job. It's no wonder a hire is made every 8 seconds on LinkedIn, and over 600 million members visit LinkedIn to make connections, learn and grow as professionals, and discover new job opportunities. In fact, LinkedIn members add 15 new skills to their profiles and apply to 35 job posts every 2 seconds. Get started today with LinkedIn Jobs and get $50 off your first job post. Visit linkedin.com/Ramsey. Terms and conditions apply.
In order to juggle the demands of work and home, I have to get a great night's sleep. Hey, Rachel Cruz here, and that's why I'm a huge fan of Tuft & Needle. You can get the best sleep of your life on a Tuft & Needle mattress. Tuft & Needle makes quality, affordable mattresses starting as low as $3.99. And for the warmer weather, nothing beats Tuft & Needle's Mint mattress, complete with cooling gel and graphite to keep the air circulating and your sleep from becoming a hot mess. Try it for 100 nights risk-free at tn.com. And remember, it ships for free.
For decades, I've been saying that before anything else, you need a will. Some of you may not know where to start, and others are thinking, I don't have $5,000 to pay an attorney. Well, you don't need $5,000. You need $130 and 20 minutes. Go to MamaBearLegalForms.com right now. They put all the docs you need in your state in one place. They're also giving my listeners 20% off by using the promo code Ramsey. That's MamaBearLegalForms.com.
Radio Iowa News is presented by the Iowa Department of Public Safety Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau. Wearing a seatbelt increases your chances of surviving a crash by 45%. It only takes 2 seconds to buckle up.
I'm Dar Danielson. Leaders of Iowa's farm commodity and biofuels groups got together today to call on President Donald Trump to force the EPA to follow the deal on ethanol and biodiesel that the president recently struck with the industry. Iowa Corn Growers Association CEO Craig Floss began by quoting an Iowa farmer that he spoke with yesterday.
I've known this farmer well. He never uses inappropriate language, nor would I in this kind of setting, but I think this says it all. No more Iowa nice. Now it's Iowa pissed.
EPA says the ethanol and biodiesel policies for 2020 fulfilled the agreement reached on October 4th with the White House, EPA, and USDA. A class action lawsuit's been filed in Illinois against Hy-Vee after the company reported a massive data breach that impacted its gas stations, coffee shops, and restaurants. Company spokesperson is not commenting. Radio Iowa, I'm Dar Danielson.
Dark and they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. With honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be shared with friends or family. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Hi, Grandma. Can Nina come over for dinner?
Sure. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
If anyone ever does, I want you to say, no, I have too much respect for my family and I don't want to get in trouble.
I promise, Grandma.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
In the lobby of Ramsey Solutions on the debt-free stage, Jeremy and Kelly are with us. Hey guys, how are you?
We're great, Dave. Thanks.
Good to have you guys. Where do you live?
We live in Parker, Colorado, a suburb of Denver.
Very cool. Well, welcome to Nashville and all the way over here to do a debt-free scream.
Absolutely.
Love it. How much have you paid off?
Just nearly $170,000.
Woo! How long did this take?
Almost exactly 4 years.
Very good. And your range of income during that time?
Started out making about $80,000, and this year we're right around on $150,000.
Okay. Wow, that's a nice jump. What do you guys do for a living?
I am a software engineer for a defense contractor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a school counselor.
Great. Very cool. What kind of debt was the 170?
Well, quite a bit of everything, Dave. Normal like everybody else, but a huge portion of it, $86,000, was student loans. We had a car payment in there, a bunch of credit cards, and a little tiny pop-up camper.
Wow, you had everything.
Yes, we did.
I love it. Well, congratulations, you guys. So what started this process 4 years ago? Tell me the story.
Well, it started before that, obviously, like everybody else's story. We were not handling our finances together like you preach, and about 4 years ago, we went on a family vacation to Disneyland in California, and on credit, I'm sure there was some credit involved on that trip. I know there was a brand new car we just bought for the trip, so we could fit everybody in it because we had some other family with us. Yeah. And on the way back, I was driving, and everybody had their tablets or devices in front of them, and I was scanning through the radio to try to find some talk radio to listen to, and ran across this crazy guy talking about getting out of debt. And I listened to it until we lost the broadcast, and we stopped to use the restroom, and I downloaded the iHeartRadio app and continued listening for another 3 hours or so.
Wow.